I know. I did too.
That was out of a scene,
this morning.
like a dream you have, where somebody just keeps bringing you more and more amazing food, and it just gets better and better.
It does.
As the 4 hours went on.
I had posted a picture online yesterday on social media about the fact that we were there, and it was later in the show, like the 9 o'clock hour, after they had brought out the avocado bacon burger. And a friend of mine is like, hey, burger for breakfast? I'm like, no, dude, that's round 2. That's post pancakes. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, post pancakes.
I definitely took a nap yesterday. I actually had a great day. We did the show.
Yeah.
And we made some news, which I'm going to get into in a second.
Yes, we did.
Then my wife and I went and test drove tractors. Then I got a lunch date with my wife.
Oh,
then I got a nap.
Yes.
And then I went and celebrated John Andrews.
Oh, that's wonderful. I saw the
pictures.
It
was like a perfect day.
That is fantastic. That is great. I mean, any day you can get a nap in, that's a perfect day just to begin with. I often say that I have to apologize to my mom routinely for complaining when I was a kid for all the naps that I missed out on. That was totally uncalled for. I apologize, Mom.
Great to see your mom yesterday.
Yeah,
so we did a live broadcast of the Jeff and Bill show on 710 KNUS from IHOP. We made news. Channel 9 even talking about it yesterday.
Yes.
Right out of a scene of Real Housewives of the Republican Party.
Yes, it was so good.
And then we got to honor and celebrate John Andrews at the Independence Institute as they renamed, I think, Liberty Hall or Freedom Hall or whatever it is where they do all their meetings, the Andrews Hall.
That's wonderful. That is really cool.
And you know the name because he founded Backbone Radio, which was on the station for many, many years.
Oh, it's fantastic. And the thing is, it goes back, I know you have a different relationship with John, but I've gotten more of it's a broadcast relationship. And I remember working on Backbone Radio. I remember working with him. I remember having him on guests with shows. He's one of my favorites in Colorado politics of all time. He's just, I just love who he is.
Old school statesman.
Yes, he is. He is.
And to have a 50-year impact on the conservative movement like he has, founding the Independence Institute, the Centennial Institute, the Western Conservative Summit, think tanks across the country, the State Policy Network, was the editor of Imprimis at one point.
Yeah.
Like, the dude has had 50 years of legacy, okay? In the political space, which we talked about yesterday, is just a marriage and family killer.
Oh, yeah.
Gets to the end of all that, gets honored, loving wife there, loving children. All of his kids love him.
Yep.
Grandchildren there. Dude won at life.
Yeah, he did. He's one of those that you sit there and you say, take the politics out of it. Don't look at it through a political realm, but look at it through what he has accomplished. Don't talk about whether or not you agree with his politics, but just look at what he has done as a person, that regardless of what party he's associated with, it is an amazing series of accomplishments. And I love the fact that you brought up somehow, some way, he was able to prioritize his family enough that he held it all together. Because, as you know, we talk about it, politics, even radio, chews up and spits out families because this or the politics becomes the dominant thing in the life. And John, through all the stuff that he was doing, was able to hold the family together, which in part is one of the reasons I admire and respect him so much, because of what he's accomplished. And he was able to do it by holding the family together. He's an amazing individual.
So, incredible day yesterday. I want to get to this audio.
Oh, yeah, we got to get to that.
Kyle Clark. I don't give Kyle props at all. In fact, one of my favorite things to do is just sit down with a cold Coors Light and tweet at Kyle Clark.
Yeah, exactly.
And people love it. I was at a bar the other day, ran into some politicos, and they're like, hey, Jeff, what are you up to? I'm like, oh, drinking a beer, tweeting at Kyle Clark, and they high-fived me and walked out.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So it is something I love to do. But he got this pretty right yesterday, and it was hilarious.
It was really good.
We'll cover that. One guy we missed yesterday because it would have been just made the day a little bit better, Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Well, thank you, Jeff and Billy. I missed you guys as well. And
dude, Bernadette, huge fan of yours. Wanted to meet you. Yeah, she's like,
Bernadette Peters.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, not that one. But I talked to a number of listeners yesterday. They're like, "Well, where's Blake?"
Oh, that's nice. Well, hello, Bernadette.
Yeah,
I said that.
I said that you're not allowed to leave because of the ankle monitor. You got to stay at home. I'm not sure that was a fair response, but
that's right. I don't need an ankle monitor. I'm behind bars.
Yes, you are. Yes. Just teasing, my friend.
I love it. You better not be teasing, man. I love it. 23 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 61 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story
Lord God, today in our meeting, we pray that you would be glorified in our conversation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Scott, that was a very good job you did. You've done that before, haven't you?
Scott Turner, the new HUD secretary, started with prayer at the first cabinet meeting on Wednesday. So we begin Thursday with that. And thank you, God, for everything you have blessed us with in D.C. and beyond. Sad news this morning. Veteran actor Gene Hackman is dead at the age of 95. Police in New Mexico say Hackman and his wife, who's 63, were found dead in their Santa Fe home Wednesday. Their deaths are under investigation.
Dude,
though foul play is not suspected.
What the heck?
I know.
Do you think it was like carbon monoxide? That's where my mind went.
Too, yeah.
But no foul play takes out both of them. Yeah. I'm going through some of it.
63 was his wife. You know, she's young.
And 90. I can't believe he's 95. I remember Behind Enemy Lines, the firm. Hoosiers, yes.
That's my favorite.
Yes. Yeah. This guy was legendary.
He was, man. He was a great
leading man in Hollywood, not necessarily the best looking guy either, just a really quality actor.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
You know, I don't know.
I've heard a lot of ladies like his look. I mean, he looks a lot better than me, so
proven talent can take you a long ways.
Absolutely. No, he was a great one. So he has passed away at the age of 95 and his wife 63. New Attorney General Pam Bondi on Fox last night with Jesse Waters talking Epstein client list.
There are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
All right, so today we may see some of that. DJT set to be to welcome UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer to the White House today. This dude is creepy. Just watch the video of him trying to hit a punching bag. I mean, he could barely hit it. But he really wants World War III, evidently. It's his first meeting with 47. They'll talk Russia-Ukraine, which Trump says he wants to end. But Starmer, he's a globalist, so he wants it to continue more than likely. Trade is also expected to be up for discussion. General Mike Flynn, whose life was almost shattered, ruined by the crook, former FBI Director James Comey, has some words for Comey.
We got whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork, and we're funneling it into the right governmental offices to do the right things. And let me tell you, these people are busted. And so for Jim Comey, that's why I said earlier, Jim, if you get this message, start thinking about what you're gonna give up, because you're gonna give up some of your freedom because you're gonna go to jail. You must go to jail because of what you did. But maybe they'll cut you a little bit of a deal, and they'll put you in a softer prison for a shorter period of time because you're able to give up some evidence on some of these other people who are even more deeper than you involved in this. Because Jim, you know exactly who I'm.
Get ready for the dominoes to fall on that one. A suspect has been arrested this week in connection to vandalism cases at a Tesla dealership in northern Colorado. Loveland police arrested 40-year-old Lucy Grace Nelson just before midnight on Monday. Officers obtained probable cause after an extensive investigation started last month, connected Nelson to the vandalism. She was booked into the Larimer County Jail on multiple charges, including criminal mischief and use of explosives or incendiary devices during a felony. City of Denver is being sued for allegedly denying homeless services to the disabled. Housekey Action Network Denver claims the city is violating federal disability laws by not providing proper facilities at contracted shelters. The allegations include a lack of wheelchair access, confiscation and loss of property, and medical complications. Investigators have arrested a suspect connected to the deadly shooting at a Greenwood Village RTD station that happened on February 11th at the Dayton Light Rail Station. A 17-year-old boy was shot and killed while another person was injured in an apparent assault. Greenwood Village Police announced the arrest of a juvenile suspect Wednesday, but did not release any information about any charges. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 21 in Aurora, 20 in Lakewood, 23 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
And we need to put our foot in the sand and stop right here. We got to save Colorado.
I love it. I loved hearing Joe yesterday.
Dude, Joe was great, man. We had a fantastic conversation. You guys, everybody knows Joe from Arvada. He calls in. He and Billy go right at it. And Joe talked yesterday about he's in his 60s and he's pursuing a new chapter in his life in ministry leadership. Yeah, and his church is training him up. And man, he just had joy in his eyes. He was excited on this new chapter. It really felt like a big Thanksgiving Day, like family celebration yesterday.
Yeah, my favorite part. Fun. My favorite part was right at the end. Joe's going to be leaving, and I go and I give him a big hug, and people applauded. That was my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, that was my favorite. That was off air. That was my favorite
funny,
yesterday.
man.
That's something I took with me that I'm going to keep for a while. That was a really neat moment. Yeah, that was something that was special to me.
The studio audience.
Yes, that was fantastic.
All right, so speaking of our audience, this is a crazy text message, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so this is from a woman named Faith, and she texts. Seems like carbon monoxide to me. We're talking about Gene Hackman.
Oh yeah.
If you want to get to know one of your daily listeners, Google my name. So I Googled her name. I'm like, okay, respond. Listen to this story. This was 2019.
Okay.
Mother's instinct saves entire family from carbon monoxide poisoning. That was Faith.
Oh, wow.
A mother in Aurora is being hailed a hero after her quick thinking saved her entire family from carbon monoxide poisoning on New Year's Day. The family had returned from out-of-town trips on December 30th. All four went to a New Year's Eve party, were in bed by 11. The next day, they nearly died. It's been a weird sort of thing. For a dozen years, his house in Aurora has been a safe haven for the family. It all changed. They woke up, I guess, feeling foggy and decided to get out of the house. But it was her instinct. She's listening right now.
Oh, that's
just
fantastic.
That was in 2019?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
December 30th, 2018.
Wow,
But
that is really cool. I mean, what a story. Wow.
She says, for whatever reason, I just decided to Google carbon monoxide, and all of our symptoms came up. Faith rushed everyone, including the dogs, out of the house. They drove minutes away to an emergency room. Incredible, incredible. The mother saved the family, the doctor says. She was working when the family arrived, and all four, and put them on oxygen. They all had moderate poisoning.
Wow.
Trust your gut, but Faith.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow, thanks for listening.
It's an amazing story. Jeez.
Perfect name also.
Yeah. Also,
for that,
the
right?
thing is that she doesn't have to do any of the cooking or cleaning or dishes for the rest of her life. She's like, I'm sorry. Who in this family saved you? You wouldn't be here. No, I'm not cleaning up after you. You do your own laundry. I don't have to. And who wants to rub mom's feet? It's been a long day. Remember who saved your life here. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she doesn't do anything else. Yeah, that's it.
She has the card, man.
Yes, she does.
It.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, of course, when you're opening the birthday card, you're like, oh, a gift card for the woman that saved your life. That's sweet. That's great. And it's $25.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks. Yeah. Really, Olive Garden. That's wonderful. Thank you. She's got it for the rest of her life. Yes.
Oh, man. That's what your mothers were saying yesterday. Both of your moms,
oh, my
man.
God. They were in a booth for 3 hours together. I'm
I know,
so worried.
Awesome.
I'm so worried.
Photos are great of them, by the way.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful women, man. That was awesome.
There's one point in which we're talking about them, and they don't hear us talking about them because they're so engrossed in the conversation. I'm like, we are so in trouble. We are so in trouble.
Yeah.
We are so in trouble.
Yep. Going deep.
I hate to tell you guys, you kept on saying that they were talking about you guys and everything. They were talking about their grandkids, man.
Yes.
That's probably right.
That is
that's
exactly
probably right. Yeah.
No, they love
That's
it.
right.
Those are great photos. I loved them. All right, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
I want to talk to you about my friends over at Mountain High Appliance. It's a new year. It's time for you to get a kitchen upgrade. Save big during Mountain High's President's Day event going on now. Save up to $3,700 on premium KitchenAid appliances. KitchenAid has been a trusted name in home and professional kitchens around the world for over 100 years. Built to last and made for those who love to cook. When you think appliances this President's Day, make sure you think Mountain High Appliance. That sale's still going on, man, so take advantage of it. Mountain High Appliance, they're great people over there. All right, so yesterday we did a live broadcast of the show at IHOP, and a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Huge turnout, great food, everybody's in good spirits. And there's a debate going on, battle, you could even say, for the future of the Republican Party. It really makes my skin crawl to even get involved in it, because for me, the enemy is the left, and debating within the family and fighting within the family over the direction of a particular party. I worked for the state party at one point, and I remember how distracting it was, and I don't like it. I don't get involved with it. So I'm happy to have both sides, and I know both sides want me to pick a side, but I'm happy to have both sides on, and that was yesterday. We were going to have both Darcy Shannon and Britta Horn on. So Darcy comes in the 8 o'clock hour and does her interview. Great conversation. Her and Bill go back and forth on Tina Peters, all that stuff. And then it's Britta's turn. Britta comes in the 9 o'clock hour, sits down and has that conversation. And right before we're about to kick off the interview, Darcy walks up and drops in front of her a lawsuit, apparently serving her. Now, I've never been served in a lawsuit. I don't know if anybody can serve anybody. I don't know how that works. I don't know if you have to pick it up or if there's processes you have to follow.
Yeah, they have to you have to be able to hand it to them in person. That's the basic deal. That's
and
basically
anybody can do that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of thing. But yeah, almost anybody can do that. Yeah.
Okay. So Darcy walks up just seconds before I have Britta on to talk yesterday and drops it right in front of her, right on the table that we're sitting at. And it's a lawsuit around what happened this last summer when a group of Republicans essentially legally challenged Dave Williams and his leadership of the state party. So yesterday it made the rounds. I had posted about it. I said, I'm literally standing right next to Britta Horn, and she just got served by Darcy Shannon, the person she's running against for chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. So it was like right out of a Real Housewives episode.
Oh, it was.
And it got picked up. Got picked up by a certain news agency. Now, I don't give Kyle Clark props for much because I think he's a leftist activist utilizing what was once a great institution, Channel 9, in order to further his politics. and those politics have particularly ruined the state. I think it's fraudulent for him to call himself a journalist. I think he's an activist, so I'm not a fan. And you all know that. But every once in a while, he'll get this right. And this was a pretty funny story coverage of what happened yesterday. This is next last night.
Like many families, the Colorado Republican Party tends to have its fights and meltdowns in public. Today, one faction of the party served another faction of the party with a lawsuit at an IHOP restaurant. As diners in Greenwood Village enjoyed the breakfast faves combo, the house scramble, and the pancake of the month, one candidate for the Colorado GOP chair dropped a double stack of litigation on the plate of a rival. This stems from the Republican Civil War over whether to replace current state chairman Dave Williams, who is accused of misusing party funds for his failed GOP primary bid for Congress and for the hassle he created for Colorado Republicans with his call to burn all pride flags. But back to the IHOP, home of the new spicy shredded beef anytime tacos, where the spicy lawsuit served this morning shreds the Republicans who tried unsuccessfully to force out Chairman Williams. She got Darcy Schoening, current party leader who's running for chair in next month's elections, who served papers this morning on Britta Horn, a rival candidate for chair who was part of the uprising. They were both at the IHOP for interviews with a local talk radio show doing a live broadcast from the Pancake House. Neither woman waffled when I reached out to him today. Schoening says Horn stole money from party donors. Horn called it a frivolous attack. You may recall the Colorado GOP has a bit of a history of airing its grievances at random businesses in the suburbs. In 2022, we dubbed it the Boot Barn Rebellion, when the faction of the GOP that's now in control was on the outside. They got turned away from the Republican Party offices, so they stood in the parking lot of the Western Wear Outfitter nearby, hollering that their party leaders were whores.
We have a Republican Party that is full of whores. They've not held to the U.S. Constitution, and then you wonder why these can't win a race.
Those Boot Barn rebels now lead the Colorado Republican Party, leading us to this morning's IHOP dust-up. So if you're buying boots or breakfast in the suburbs and you hear ruckus, might just be Colorado Republicans working things out.
That made me laugh.
Yeah,
the waffles, the double stack, the tacos. He goes through the IHOP menu. This is a message to all advertisers out there. We get a hell of publicity for you.
Yeah, we do.
Not only on our station.
Yes.
Not only with our listeners.
Yes.
We'll gin up some news, and we'll get other stations to talk about you too.
Yes. Talk about
IHOP comes out looking great in all this.
Yeah. He references all these things on the menu. It's fantastic.
Right? He really goes through the menu.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people are going, those chicken tacos, those sound good.
Yeah, they're like, I didn't know they had those. Like, I have to go check that out. And again, great writing. Really, really good writing. The only critique I would have is going back to the inverted pyramid. The fact that it happened at a live radio broadcast shouldn't have been written into the story at 1 minute, 8 seconds in.
Yeah.
But I understand why it's there. I get it. I get it, Channel 9. I get it, Kyle Clark. I understand why you bury us late in the story. Fair enough. Fair play.
And not even mention our names.
No, not at all.
I get it.
Yeah, again, fair play. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I just think that the idea of if you would have just earlier on in the story talk about during a live radio broadcast at an IHOP such and such, serve papers with blah, 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 blah. There's a little more context added that makes it a little more, because if you listen to that first 60 seconds, as clever as the wordplay is, you're like, oh, why'd they know she's just sitting there at the IHOP? The impression is she's just having breakfast and they walk up and serve her. Yeah, and it's like, wait, no, it's more funny if you realize that one candidate who was interviewed on the show earlier waits around to give the other candidate papers. That's funny. So I'm just saying, early on, in the first couple of lines, you should have did that. You don't have to give us credit. I understand. That's fine, Kyle. That's fine, writers. I get it. It's fine. Perfect. Fair play. That's fine. But listen, put that a little higher in the story. That's going to help you out a little bit there. The context is a little more entertaining. But again, the writing is top notch. That is fantastic. They did a great job. That was fun.
Bill, you want to give folks an update on the T-shirts?
I'm still working with the guy that's writing it. He had a couple of last-minute rushes with people with large paychecks. that came in and says, I need this done. Here, look
Wait,
at the
us
size of
with
this.
no paycheck?
Yeah, exactly.
Are not taking priority?
Yeah, no. So I should have something this weekend. I'm hoping. I've been going back and forth. He's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I've let you down. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to work on this. And then something else popped up. So I hopefully will have something for us by Monday. But he and I have been texting.
If you're wondering about this, a few weeks ago, we noticed that whenever Kyle responds to me on X, there's like this army of little purple-haired progressives that come right with him. And we wanted to come up with a name because when you're a big star like Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift or Kyle Clark, there's a name for your fans.
Yes,
your
there is.
Beliebers, your Swifties. Well, we're Kyle Clark's fans going to be named, this army.
What are they?
And we did a poll on X, and the winning name by far was Kyle's Karens.
Yes, it's a great name. And so we found a professional T-shirt company that is going to be able to do this. It's a one shop. It's not a big giant conglomeration, nothing like that. That my brother's connected with, and so I reached out to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I would love to do it." And so he just has one shop. It's not here in town, so we can't go and patronize his place. But he's going to set up a website for us and help do some pre-orders, and then he'll print as many shirts that are ordered. So they're limited edition. It's going to be a single run. One time they're printed, they're going to destroy the silk screen. It'll be gone. We're not going to be able to do it again. So it's one-time shot only. But we will print as many as you want to order, and there are going to be two different versions. If you're pro Channel 9 and Kyle Clark, there's a version there. So if you have someone in your family, this could be something, for an anniversary gift, for a birthday gift, or even thinking ahead for something like Christmas. So as soon as he gets a chance to get his head above water, he's going to be doing this. He said, hopefully it had something for me by this weekend, but I'll probably check in with him today or tomorrow to find out. But we had a long text message conversation earlier. He's like, no. And then he showed me the size of the paycheck of one of the companies that came in. I'm like, no. That, yeah. I had to pause it. Here's what they asked, and they had a rush job. And I'm like, that's fine.
Now,
that's fine. Perfectly fine.
The only thing I'm worried about is timing because there's some openings at MSNBC.
Yeah. Yes, there is. There is some.
And I want to get in early before there's a national movement.
Yes.
Against Kyle's Karens.
Against Kyle. So we'll have to see. But then again, after MSNBC had this reorganization, is that really where you want to jump to, where they don't know what they're looking like? He is. I can't say that on the air. He is the lead dog in the sled race here.
He's a big fish in a medium-sized market pond.
And it's a great position for him. And so the jump would have to be really, really attractive. And I'm not certain that the MSNBC jump based on the tumultuous ratings, because their ratings dominant here. And he would go to the organization that is tail end Charlie on the evening cable news ratings. So I'm not sure he went to do that.
You get to be the lead dog fighting DJT. Yeah, and I think that's the fight he ultimately wants.
But the lead dog on the team that has other sick dogs. So I'm not sure that's the one you want to get on. The team of mushers and want to go for. I'm not sure that's the one you jump on. But we'll see.
Breadman text in. IHOP made out yesterday. He's thinking we should ban Darcy because she violated your free speech safe zone. It was good to see Breadman.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to him afterwards. Yeah, he was rocking a really cool hat, and so it was fun.
He
it
and
was
my
fun
son
to chat
got
with
the
him.
same haircut too.
Yeah, I know.
The Danny cut.
The thing is, because Breadman's got this long, luscious, lock of hair flowing underneath his hat, and I'm at the point where I'm losing my hair and get a little jealous about that. A little bit like, dude, it's not fair.
So two of my sons, I have one son who's like right out of a Marine Corps advertisement.
Yeah,
right?
He is.
He's going to go that way. And then I got two sons with long flowing locks.
Yes.
And I say to them every day, enjoy it, man. Yep. I have no problem with it.
Yep.
Love it. Because you got a small window of life, you can have that hair.
A small window, so do it as much as you possibly can. Did you?
Unless you're the bread man.
Yeah. Side note: good. Did you ever have long hair? And if so, how long was it? And what was the era?
I had the Jonathan Taylor Thomas haircut from Tool Time. You remember that show?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't Tool Time, but
you did the.
That haircut
you did the
with
mullet.
the butt cut.
Yeah.
Kind of on the side. So that's as long as
you did the mullet. Oh man.
Actually, I recently. What was this, 5 years ago? I didn't cut my hair for a year.
Oh, wow.
I grew out my beard for a year, too. I look like Forrest Gump.
Oh, wow. Jeez, the longest mine was probably about 3 inches past my shoulders at one point. Was long. But it was.
You please provide a picture of that.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'll have to see if I have it. But the issue is my entire head wasn't that length. It was only the top. The sides were shaved nearly bald and the back. So it was only the top
You're only
that was that
making this
long.
better.
Oh, you have no idea. That the amount of really weird haircuts
Are you like
that
a
my parents.
headbanger?
No. I would have been classified in that era. It would have been punk and new wave is what it would have been.
Wow.
This is the crazy part is I will show my kids pictures of me in high school and college and stuff, and it's haircuts that kids have now. And they're like, you had
it's all
what?
come back.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, and I was made fun of for that haircut. And now you've got parents that are giving that haircut to their kids that are showing up to high school that have that haircut. There was one that I pulled out the other day. This is probably like 3-4 months ago with the kids. And they're like, there's like 6 kids that I know at school that have that haircut. I'm like, I know. And nobody wanted that haircut when I was a kid. Yeah. I found a hairstylist that would basically just he and I would go a little wild. And he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, okay. Yeah, he would even do weird things with the back, hairline of my hair, stuff like that. So, yeah, I found a kindred spirit. And so he was the guy that dyed my hair a really weird color of blue-black for a while.
There's so many pictures that we need on this stuff.
Oh, yeah, there are.
I'm trying to look up my Forrest Gump phase. I tried to become a serious runner. I'll get that. Well, here's a little bit of a picture. There's kind of the beard.
Yeah.
I'll post that. You could see it on the YouTube.
Oh, wow, look at that.
So that was about a year of not shaving.
Nice. That's nice. I've never had the really long beard thing. It gets
like
a little
Duck Dynasty.
It gets about an inch or so long. I get annoyed with it. It's itchy and annoying, and yeah, I can't stand that.
It got to the point where I was tying it into my tie that I had to deal with it. All right.
That's funny.
Look, do you know a high school student who has a passion for engaging in cultural and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics with an emphasis in public policy prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. So here's the question I got for our listeners. You saw what happened yesterday, Britta Horn, Darcy Shannon. You saw the lawsuit drop. You heard from both of them. One saying, we are going to continue the direction of the Republican Party as it is. She works with Dave Williams. If Dave Williams challenges her, who knows? She may drop out. But Darcy pointed out there's no division between her and Dave Williams, that they've won under Dave's leadership. Darcy wants to continue that vision. She feels she can improve on it. That's the direction Darcy Shannon wants to take. Britta Horn, looking at the current state of the Republican Party here in Colorado, going, there's too much division. There's too much special interest. We're putting money towards particular candidates. We're endorsing. We need to be running a basic blocking and tackling Republican Party operation that can achieve better victories. That's Britta Horn's argument. Lawsuit served yesterday. Debate at the Pancake House, IHOP. So, you had to vote. Who are you pulling the lever for to lead the Republican Party? Between those two, Darcy Shannon, Britta Horn. Give us a call. Want to hear from you. 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. You like the direction of the Republican Party? You can improve on it a little bit with Darcy? Or do you want to go back to maybe the way things were in the past? Not so much division under Britta Horn's leadership. Want to hear directly from you. Join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
The Democrat governor of Maine, Janet Mills, is fundraising off of the heated clash she had with President Donald Trump over his executive order banning biological males from women's sports.
You better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. and enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Trump saying that Maine will not receive any federal funding until it complies with the law and keeps biological males from competing against females. Now, Governor Mills is trying to capitalize on her moment in the national spotlight with her campaign putting out a statement saying, quote, "I want to make one thing clear. Maine will not be intimidated by the president's threats. The work to push back against Trump and his agenda begins at the state level. Can you donate $10 to the Maine Democratic Party to make sure they have the resources to fight for our state?" The same week, Trump threatened to withhold funding from Maine for not complying with his executive order on women's sports. A transgender who competed as a man until June of last year won first place in the women's pole vault at Maine's Class B State Indoor Championship. President Donald Trump introduced the idea of a gold card during his first cabinet meeting, saying it would be a perfect opportunity for high-dollar investors to make their way into the country and contribute to the economy. The price tag is set at $5 million, and the money made would go directly to pay off the national debt.
These companies can go and buy a gold card, and they can use it as a matter of recruitment. At the same time, the company is using that money to pay down debt. We're going to pay down a lot of debt with that. And I think the gold card is going to be used by, not only for that, I mean, they'll be used by companies. We have to be able to get people in the country, and we want people that are productive people. And I will tell you, the people that can pay $5 million, they're going to create jobs. They're going to spend a lot of money on jobs. They're going to have to pay taxes on that too. So they're going to be hiring people. They're going to be bringing people in and companies in.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick backs the president's idea, saying it will replace the EB-5 program that's, quote, full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud.
This is exactly the Trump administration. We all work together. We work it out to be the best. And if we sell, just remember, 200,000. There's a line for EB-5 of 250,000 right now. 200,000 of these gold green cards is $1 trillion to pay down our debt. And that's why the president is doing it, because we are going to balance this budget and we are going to pay off the debt.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Aguayo, Salem News Channel.
to the Jeff and Bill Show. Jason in Denver. I've got a choose the news headline for you guys. If you take...
Yeah?
I'll take 2 eggs scrambled, a small stack of blueberry pancakes served with a lawsuit.
Oh, that's good.
That was a good
fantastic.
one. 5695. Thank you for yesterday. My family had a great day. KNUS is the bomb.
Oh, thank you
nice
so much.
meeting you, Jeff. And yes, Billy, I appreciate you. We love you guys. P.S. Need Jeff Hildebrand's website. Want to buy one of his books. That poem was
that was amazing. You can actually check his stuff out online on Amazon, and you search Jeff Hildebrand author. It'll pop up. That's probably the easiest way to get it, and the easiest way to get cash back into his pocket. It's the easiest thing to do. So, yeah. It was great to have Jeff Hildebrand there, too. I mean, Mike Boyle was there. Jeff Hildebrand was there. There's so many listeners we got to talk to. Breadman, Joe from Arvana. Spent time with Bernadette. Got to see Ward, Stephanie, his wife. So many people. And, of course, the Hunt clan was there early. Yes, that was fantastic.
They got a good breakfast before heading to school.
Yeah, they did.
All right, 3631. If the infighting with the Republican Party doesn't stop, it won't matter who leads it. It's all a disaster right now. I wonder if there aren't Dem infiltration going on. The state is ripe for change, and the Republicans in charge are giving it away to Dems. The Dems need to spend considerably less, fully knowing they have no competition from Republicans. Instead of delivering coffee at IHOP, they're delivering lawsuits. 3631. So a few things there. The Democrats do have infighting. They just do it very quietly behind the scenes.
Yeah, they do.
And Democrats are much more likely to get in line with whatever the billionaires tell them to do. So there's 4 billionaires that control the state. Tim Gill, Jared Polis, Pat Stryker, and Red Rutledge, I think is his name. That's all detailed out in the book called The Blueprint. They run the show. What's kind of interesting is when you saw last year the pro-Palestinian faction of the Democrat Party, they went very vocal. They were in the gallery of the state capitol with their Palestinian flags, and the governor's Jewish, Phil Weiser's Jewish, Jenna Griswold, I think, is Jewish. So the state leadership is Jewish, and so you had that split within the Democrat Party. But they actually didn't really come out and slam them publicly. You just had to wait for the primary.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just had to wait. Yeah, it's interesting how public the GOP takes these things. But yeah, there was a story that I was thinking of yesterday, something that I'd heard recently, and it was from an author who's diving into the Rupert Murdoch Fox succession plan as far as what's going on there, and was talking about, I think is it John or Jeff, the son that's not Lachlan, it's the other one.
I don't follow the family at all.
So that Lachlan is the one that's closer to Rupert, and the other son, and there are also 2 daughters involved, but the other son is the one that's outside of necessarily what you would say the Fox sphere. I wouldn't classify him as a liberal, but I don't think that he's necessarily as strong a conservative. He's definitely more liberal than Fox News likes. And it was an interesting conversation where they were talking about, the author of the book was talking about a lawsuit that they're involved with because Rupert Murdoch tried to change the trust as far as who was going to get voting. It's supposed to be equally distributed between all 4 kids. Then he went in and tried to change the irrevocable trust, and he lost in court. And the son that's been somewhat ostracized, they said the conversation was interesting. The author said, what I was surprised about is neither Rupert or my brother ever picked up the phone and talked to me. They started with the lawsuit.
Wow.
They started with chasing the trust. And they said if they would have come to me and said, well, and they had a good reason, they said, yeah, and they explained what they wanted to do, and they would offer a deal, and we could have a conversation about it. He goes, we could have talked through this. But because of the route they went, conversation is no longer possible. And he's like, I no longer talk to my brother anymore because of this wedge that's been placed between us. When he goes, when honestly, if they would have just called, he goes, I don't have any real desire. The author was saying that the brother doesn't have any desire to run Fox News or take over the Rupert Murdoch conglomeration and media empire. He said, but he doesn't want to be cut out because it's important to Mom. When the divorce was happening, one of the things that Mom wanted and insisted on was this irrevocable trust. And there are some reasons behind it that don't matter right now. But he said, rather than just coming and talking to me and my sisters and saying, this is what we'd like to do, can we find an agreement? They went the lawsuit route. And that's exactly what I saw yesterday. I saw 2 factions that refuse to talk to each other, that instead are going to do this through the strong arm of lawsuits. And it was disappointing to me personally because that's exactly what I
There's
saw.
an old adage in politics, too, that
Yeah.
the smaller the stakes, the more vicious the fights.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah.
sometimes that pops out there, too.
Yeah, because
You're
if the
like,
stakes are big enough, you can always find an agreement. But if you're fighting over the small thing, it's about principle at some point or another, and it becomes a real problem.
Yep. So want to hear from you? Feel free to join the conversation. 303-696-1971. In about a month?
Yeah.
In about a month, the State Central Committee is going to pull the lever on who leads the Colorado Republican Party moving forward. Who would or who should it be at this point in the race?
Yeah.
Britta Horn, Darcy Shanning. Join the conversation. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's that time of the morning you all need, that wake-up power with You Choose the News.
Yes, it's that time of the morning, but today we're not doing it with pancakes. I missed the pancakes. That was really fun yesterday. Alrighty, appreciate everybody that showed up yesterday to have us do You Choose the News live at IHOP. Today we're back in the studio, and you know how this works. This is America's favorite fake radio news game show. We've taken mere moments this morning to browse the interwebs for dumb stories about us humans. I've given them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show with all of you. Why? Why would we be this irresponsible with valuable airtime? Because we are left unsupervised. Yes, just like our parents were talking about yesterday at IHOP, all the things that we did when we were left alone. Yes, very questionable decisions, and I still have some scars. But luckily, no scarring involved here, just emotional scars. That's basically it. Alrighty, here we go. Blake Olson joining us from the newsroom. And remember, nobody in charge understands that we're doing this, so shh, it's a secret between all of us right now. Okay, here we go, gentlemen. Blake Olson, Jeff Hunt, your headline choices are: number 1, can we apply this to Congress? Headline number 2, fiery breakup. Headline number 3, like onions, not cake. And headline number 4, love test. Mr. Hunt, your choice.
I'm going to start with my daughter. She was cutting onions the other day. Tears in her eyes. So let's go with the onions.
Like onions, not cake. In a curious twist of fate, a woman in the Philippines has unwittingly been worshiping a statue of Shrek recently instead of Buddha. The discovery came as a shock to both herself and friends and her family when she had an unusual figure in her prayer space. Family came over and she talked about how proud she was, the prayer space, and how much comfort it has provided her recently. And they looked and they said, yeah, it's great, Grandma, but that's Shrek. And he's green. It's not Buddha. Now, understandably, there is a lot of resemblance. You know, big tummy, lots of extra chin, stuff like that. Yeah. So, but again, she's a little embarrassed. But who knows? Maybe soon she will get to rescue the kingdom and marry the princess. So, there's always a positive. You never know. But I love that she didn't know that she was worshiping Shrek for that many years. And the question is, now, if things went well in her life, does she continue? Does she go, I can't give up my loyalty to Shrek? This would be dumb. Look at what he's done in my life. I don't know. Right. There's so many questions that we have here. Okay, Blake Olson.
There's an old movie where I didn't watch all of it, but like Tribe finds a Coke bottle that falls out of
that's the Gods Must Be Crazy.
The Gods Must Be Crazy.
Yeah. Because the guy throws out of the airplane. Yes, yeah. Oh, exactly. And then they worship the Coke bottle. Oh, yes. Saw that in the theater. I am that many years old. Alrighty. I think it was a half day. Friends, because I went with Jason and Scott went that day. Okay, sorry. Down memory lane. Blake Olson, your choice, sir. Can we apply this to Congress? Fiery breakup or love test?
Can we apply this to Congress?
Yeah, can we apply this to Congress? I got a question because the Ohio Supreme Court's viral ruling recently is now going to be tried to be changed thanks to a Democrat in Columbus. Bill DeMora has introduced a Senate bill in Ohio that would dub boneless wings have to be boneless. They can't actually have bones in them. It's basically, there was a lawsuit that someone had found in one of the boneless wings a small shard of a bone and got stuck in their throat. Of course, you know how it does in America. We lawsuit the hell out of it. So lawsuits were filed, and the court ruled that boneless wings don't actually have to be boneless. And I'm just wondering if we can start running maybe a bill in Congress that we can't have spineless Congress people. I'm just saying that we don't want any boneless Congress people. We have to verify they have a spine. They have to stand up. You know what they have to do? They have to come on this show and undergo the rigorous debate of Jeff and I. That would be the best way to prove whether they have a spine. Yeah, I know. Boneless wings. Boneless wings
there with you.
Can't have bones in them. That's dumb.
No.
Yeah, I know. Okay, Jeff Hunt has the final choice this morning, sir. Fiery breakup or love test?
Love test.
Love test. Here we go to China for this one. A Chinese woman wanted to make sure that her fiancé really loved her. So based on suggestions from both her mother and sister, she put him to the test. What was it? Could he endure the pain of childbirth? Yes. For hours and hours, she subjected him to electronic stimulation of his muscles right around his abdomen. Went on for hours, and he had to have emergency surgery. His intestines lost blood flow and were subject to necrosis. So he's lost some of his intestines to prove his love. I wonder if he loves her still. I'm not sure. But, yeah.
Getting out of that.
Exactly.
All
Back
right,
to you,
you're
sir.
listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is 710 KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, February 27, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. We're off and running. We got a whole hour planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Bill, I have some breaking news we're going to have here on the show right after Blake Olson.
Hey.
I have received access to Mike Johnston's 5-point email that he sent to Elon Musk.
Oh, my goodness. The What Did You Do essay. That's great.
That is exactly right.
It's like the same assignment we got in middle school journalism. You have to, in your little spiral notebook journal. Yeah, you got the prompt on the board, chalkboard at the end of the week. This was 5 things you did this week.
5 things you did. This is from Mike Johnston to Elon Musk. You're not going to want to miss this one. I may also have access to what Jared Polis sent Elon Musk as well.
Hey, it's wonderful. It's nice to see that the Salem IT department is earning their scratch.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson. News and comment.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy. 30 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 61 today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, New Mexico authorities investigating the death of Hollywood screen legend Gene Hackman. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said that Hackman and his wife and their dog were all found in their home on Wednesday. They said that the foul play is not suspected at this time. Said that foul play was not suspected at this time. However, the exact cause of death has not been determined. Sorry about that.
And it looks like the dog died too.
Yeah, so the dog and his wife died. 63 years old.
Jeez.
He was 95, and I had some stuff here, but my computer just froze.
So,
but sad story though.
I guess this is before my time, but Gene Hackman was on Richard Nixon's enemies list.
Yeah, I remember hearing something like that. Yeah,
he was on there with Jane Fonda and the rest of them.
Yeah,
So
I don't know
guess
his politics, but
pretty
more than
progressive.
likely,
Yeah, he was a Dem.
That's too bad. All the actors I love, man, they're lefties.
I've always wondered how much of that is their actual beliefs and how much of it is just going, these are the hoops I got to jump through and make it in this industry.
That's what I have to do to make a living.
Yeah.
Or I'm just dumb. Ignorant.
That's it. Yep, you got it.
I focus on acting. But this is my favorite scene. I love this scene, man. This is one of my favorites from Hackman.
Don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners. Okay?
I love it. And then the team goes crazy. Love that movie. The Supreme Court ruled DJT can freeze all foreign aid, and the globalist leftists are going down. Everything Doge is doing is constitutional. The Supreme Court pausing a court order that required 47 to release foreign aid funding. The wins keep on coming. AG Pam Bondi expected to release info on the Epstein client list today on Jesse Waters last night on Fox.
There are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
So expecting that today. The Department of Agriculture says it will invest $1 billion to try and stop the spread of bird flu and bring egg prices down. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins wrote in the Wall Street Journal Wednesday that it's part of a 5-part strategy that includes upgrades at poultry farms and financial relief to farmers severely affected by the outbreak. General Mike Flynn sent a message to the corrupt former FBI director James Comey.
We got whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork, and we're funneling it into the right governmental offices to do the right things. And let me tell you, these people are busted. And so for Jim Comey, that's why I said earlier, Jim, if you get this message, start thinking about what you're gonna give up, because you're gonna give up some of your freedom, because you're gonna go to jail. You must go to jail because of what you did. But maybe they'll cut you a little bit of a deal, and they'll put you in a softer prison for a shorter period of time, because you're able to give up some evidence on some of these other people who are even more deeper than you involved in this. Because Jim, you know exactly who I'm.
Yeah, and Comey almost destroyed Flynn's life, and God only knows what else he's responsible for, even though, he goes on camera and he tries to sound like the friend of the people.
When you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions.
Well, yes, he is. And guess what? The American people love it. Because our rights come from God, not government institutions like you worship and yourself. Israel is releasing over 600 Palestinian prisoners in exchange for the bodies of 4 dead Israeli hostages. Some consumers and activists are calling for an economic blackout tomorrow. The idea is not to spend money for 24 hours. That's funny. That is funny. I just read this. I'm sorry. A protest against corporate greed.
I actually think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Save a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, put it in the bank.
Right. You won't have to rely on the government so much. Don't
buy any of that purple hair dye. Save your money and use it wisely. Let's see. So they're going to protest corporate greed and companies that have pulled back on supporting DEI efforts. There are also calls for additional boycotts of companies like Amazon, Walmart, and Nestle in the coming weeks. DJT set to welcome UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer to the White House today. Oh, man, just watch this dude. If you can go on social media and watch him hitting a punching bag, oh, my God. Oh, Lord have mercy. What a weirdo.
Through Sunday, the weather will be quite nice here in Denver and along the Front Range.
Connection to vandalism cases at a Tesla dealership in northern Colorado. Loveland police arrested 40-year-old Lucy Grace Nelson. Just before midnight on Monday, officers obtained probable cause after an extensive investigation started last month, connected Nelson to the vandalism. She was booked into the Larimer County Jail on multiple charges, including criminal mischief and use of explosives or incendiary devices during a felony. It is 27 in Littleton, 28 in Westminster, and 30 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
Your steaming stack of syrupy circles.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
February ends nicely. March starts nicely before the weather changes next week. We're going to be upper 50s and lower 60s today, low to mid 60s for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nights will be mostly 20s and 30s. It'll be dry through Sunday, although Sunday will bring increasing and thickening clouds. Monday starts mild, but by Monday night into Tuesday, areas of rain and snow and temperatures trending colder. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center. Through Sunday, the weather will be quite nice here in Denver and along the Front Range. February ends nicely. March starts nicely before the weather changes next week. We're going to be upper 50s and lower 60s today, low to mid 60s for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nights will be mostly 20s and 30s. It'll be dry through
Look, if the
Sunday,
last
although
couple
Sunday
of
will bring
years have taught
increasing
us
and thickening
one thing,
clouds.
It's to value the things that we can control, and addressing hair loss is no exception. Our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration can reverse years or even decades of hair loss with their simple one-day treatment. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and your new hair is backed by the Advanced Hair Guarantee. It works for bald spots, receding
Monday
hairlines,
starts
thinning
mild, but by
hair
Monday
for
night into
men,
Tuesday,
women,
areas
younger or wiser, Advanced Hair can address many different patterns of hair loss. Advanced Hair's top-rated physicians like Dr. Tanya Pauls have changed tens of thousands of people's lives, and now it's your turn. I've had a lot of guys in my family get their hair done. We don't have those flowing locks like we did when we were younger, and it really has changed their lives, improved their it brought back youthfulness, energy to their lives that impacted every relationship, business, personal, romantic, family, all of it. Was improved by getting their hair done. So schedule your free consultation by calling 720-459-HAIR. And to celebrate the new year, get special financing, 250 free hair grafts, and $250 off. Value the things you can control and start regrowing your own natural hair today. That's 720-459-HAIR, or become inspired with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Well, yesterday, Elon Musk showed up at the first cabinet meeting and pointed out that the Doge email was a pulse check for workers. Warns U.S. will go bankrupt without action. Fox News reporting that President Trump tapped Elon Musk to speak at the top of the first full cabinet meeting on Wednesday to discuss the progress made by the Department of Government Efficiency. Musk, standing with his signature black suit jacket with a T-shirt underneath, spoke at the meeting in which the media was present and made some clarifications about what he and Doge are doing, as well as a recent email sent to government employees. I actually just call myself a humble tech support hero, Musk stated.
That was a pile of crap. I'll let you continue in a sec, but humble, please, humble, the dude that cheats at video games. Really, so humble. The other part is tech support. Tell me the last time IT came up and cut your budget. Tell me the last time IT came to you and cut people in a department they're not associated with. Tech support, my left foot. Such a steaming pile of crap.
I love it.
Oh, you can like it all you want, but it is a steaming pile of crap. And he stood there, and nobody pushed back on him.
Part of why I love all this is how you guys you respond to all of it.
Oh, the issue is, it's just the idea of he is full of crap, and the response to that is crickets. That's the idea. I mean, Trump asked the cabinet yesterday if anybody had any pushback. Not a single one of them had balls. Not a single one of them stood there and said anything.
Elon Musk is not appointed. He is not getting paid. He has no official role within the government. He's tech support. He's tech support.
Yeah, because he tells people they have to respond to an email. When's the last time tech support did that? Yeah, right. He talks about the idea that he's cut USAID. Yeah, sure. That's tech support. And he brags about all the people he's fired. That's tech support.
It's
sure.
Revenge of the nerds, Bill. Musk.
He is so full of it. It is hilarious. He is so full of it.
Continued, he writes, as crazy as it sounds, that is almost a little description of the work of the Doge team is doing in helping fix the government computer systems. He says the computer systems are extremely old, and there are many mistakes in the system. So we're actually tech support, he said. It's ironic, but true.
No, it's not.
He also defended last week's productivity email to federal employees. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said Tuesday in a press briefing that more than 1 million federal workers participated in the Musk and the Office of Personal Management directive to provide a bullet-pointed list of their work accomplishments from the previous week. I think the email was perhaps interpreted as a performance review. Well, it should be. But actually, it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Musk said. And if you have a pulse and 2 neurons, you could reply to the email. Musk said the task was not a high bar and should be something anyone can accomplish. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond, he said. And some people who are not real people, like they're fictional individuals that are collecting a paycheck. Well, somebody is collecting paychecks on a fictional individual So we're literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write email? Which I think is a responsible expectation.
If you're 19.
Musk explained that our goal is not to be capricious or unfair in how Doge operates, and that the overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit.
Yeah. Not be capricious or unfair. Just go ahead and gut the organizations and departments that were investigating and have controls on stuff that Tesla, SpaceX, and Twitter does. Yeah, not capricious at all. And again, this is how intelligent it is. If you asked a 19 to 21-year-old how to do a test about anybody in the company having a pulse, this would be what they'd come up with. They wouldn't go the higher level and ask, I don't know, look at performance reviews. Maybe ask department heads about people that are in their department and seeing if there's anybody in there that didn't exist.
Why not? This seems very easy. Respond to an email and list the 5 things you did last week.
And very, very, very stupid. That this is the way you're going to test whether or not someone's there. Phenomenally
stupid. Brilliant.
No, it's not. It's phenomenal. This is
fantastic.
This is a fix that someone who is 19 to 22 devises. Let's send an email. I'm going to send an email out, and if they don't respond, they're not a real person. Yeah, good job. Yeah, go sit back in the corner.
You would rather go through the whole process of sitting down, talking, doing performance reviews, all that stuff. You can clear out if there are people, and I don't know if there are, but if there are people there that are fictional individuals, as Elon Musk says, that are collecting paychecks, or somebody's collecting paychecks on these fictional individuals, that's a really easy way to figure it out. What's wrong with that?
No, it isn't. That's not an easy way to figure it out. That's just figuring out who doesn't return an email. That doesn't show you whether or not the person exists or not. And here's the idea is, if you wanted to actually, because the other idea is to actually look for it is hard work. It takes time and effort, but that's not what Doge is about. The Department of Government Errors is just about making errors.
They're going through and providing an initial analysis. We're 1 month into the presidency.
Yes.
This is a great first step.
This is
Can't it be?
This is a stupid first
step.
You
would rather go. What would be your approach? You want to go through and look at federal employees that either don't exist and someone's collected a paycheck or aren't doing a good job. Your proposal is to do a big HR review?
This is the idea. The first step that I would do is I would run through a list of government employees, and then I would run through a list of who has not received a performance review in the previous 5 years and how often it has happened in the previous 5 years.
5 years?
Yes, hang on, because I don't know if a performance review for whatever reason was skipped for a year or two, but inside of 5 years, I have a decent sample size of performance. I'm not looking at how they were reviewed. I'm just looking at if. Because if this person doesn't exist, there wouldn't be a performance review. The next thing I do is I cross-reference that with a tab of the number of hours said employees that are possibly in that performance review question, how often they log onto government servers, and what the time is spent and the time during the day in which they're involved in the government workforce. Those are the first 2 things I look at. I don't do this dumb email thing. And the idea is assessing that and grabbing that as far as information takes a little bit of time. It also takes a little bit of effort. It takes more than a 19-year-old thought process of, let's send an email, and if they don't respond to the email, they don't exist.
You would have to create an entirely new HR wing of the federal government to do this. This would take 4 years. It would be wrapped up in lawsuits.
No.
It would never get done.
No.
This was a very simple way to take a pulse.
No, I disagree, because here's the idea. They have access to the database of performance reviews. I'm not asking for their supervisors. Those exist in a database. All you have to do, and these are the tech bros that are so super smart about the techie stuff, and all you got to do is run through that database. You run through the database and you cross-reference employees with number of performance reviews over the previous 5 years. That is the very first cross-referencing database you produce. And they're doing databases where they're announcing trillions of dollars of spending. They can do this. They just didn't want to, because that requires effort and thought, and that's not what Doge is about.
It requires effort on the part of the federal employees.
No.
it
takes effort for them to find out.
It takes 30 seconds to put this email together, and I think it's not only a pulse check, I think it also indicates their level of competency. So if we have federal employees
of incompetency of Doge
that cannot
directly
put
shows
this
that.
together,
Yeah.
It is a clear sign that you should not be accepting taxpayer dollars.
It shows the
salary.
inefficiency and inequity and just impossibility of what DOJ is trying to accomplish. They're dumb. This is something that a 19-year-old shows up with.
Join the conversation. I love it, by the way, what they're doing. And it just feels like Christmas morning every single day. So do you agree with me that the 5-bullet point email is brilliant? It takes a pulse check. And if you as a federal employee can't even simply do that to justify your job, you should be out of here. Or do you think there's better ways to do it, as Bill talked about, and that this is indicative of a 19-year-old tech bro going into a government agency and screwing everything up? We'd love to hear from you, 303-696-1971. I have, though, come across, through my hacking capabilities, no, not mostly just AI capabilities, but Mayor Mike Johnston's email back to Elon Musk about what he did last week. Here it is, the exclusive Mayor Mike Johnston email to Elon Musk. Subject line, Elon, your favorite mayor, Mike here, with my week of progressive wins. Dear Elon, hey there, Space Cowboy. It's your pal Mike Johnston, Denver's wokest mayor, sliding into your inbox with a recap of my past week's triumphs. I've been out here saving the world one granola bar at a time, and I figured you'd appreciate a chuckle, maybe even a snort from that genius brain of yours. Here are the 5 things I accomplished this week with all the ironic liberal flair you secretly adore. Buckle up. Number 1, crime. I hosted a candlelight vigil for our feelings. This week I tackled Denver's skyrocketing crime by organizing a beautiful community circle downtown. We lit soy candles, sang Kumbaya, and workshopped a new slogan, hugs, not handcuffs. Sure, someone stole my Prius during the event, but I'm calling it a teachable moment about sharing resources. You'd love the vibes, Elon. Very anti-establishment. Number 2, illegal immigration. Rolled out the red recycled carpet. I welcomed 3 more busloads of newcomers with open arms and a speech about how borders are just like colonial constructs. Man, I'm still figuring out where to put everyone. My staff suggests my guest room, but I need that for my Peloton. Maybe you should 3D print us some eco-friendly shelters with that boring company magic. Number 3, homelessness. Declared tents a lifestyle choice. I spent Wednesday rebranding our encampments as urban camping collectives. It's all about empowerment, not eviction. Passed out some vegan granola bars and compostable flyers about mindfulness, too. The numbers are still climbing, but I'm pretty sure it's just folks vibing with my new progressive vision. Send me a Tesla Powerwall to charge their dreams. Number 4, cost of living. I turned rent into a performance art piece. Thursday, I stared down Denver's insane rent prices and decided to make it art. I pitched a one-man show called Eviction, the Musical. It's just me sobbing into reusable totes while landlords raise prices faster than launch rockets. A studio apartment now costs more than a Cybertruck, and I'm over here begging my crystals for a housing miracle. Maybe you could Muskify our economy with some spare Dogecoins. Number 5, restaurants closing. Launched a solidarity fast. With another wave of eateries biting the dust, I kicked off Friday with a hunger strike, well, a symbolic one, between my oat latte and kale smoothie. I tweeted, who needs restaurants when we have community gardens? Spoiler alert, we don't have those either. Maybe you could swoop in with a SpaceX food drop. I'd settle for a Neuralink chip to forget hunger altogether. So Elon, that's my week in a hemp-woven nutshell. I'm out here fighting the good fight while Denver teeters on the edge of my utopian dreamscape. Swing by sometime. Bring a flamethrower for ambiance. Kidding, unless you're not. Keep disrupting the cosmos, and I'll keep disrupting, well, whatever is happening in the city of Denver. In solidarity and sarcasm, Mike Johnston, Mayor of Denver, champion of chaos. P.S. My staff says I'm trending on X. Should I thank you or sue you? Letter, email from Mayor Mike Johnston to Elon Musk. All right, so what do you think of the 5-point email request coming from the federal government? Let's go to Mary in Wyoming. Good morning, Mary. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. One of the things I'm identifying is that I'm concerned that it seems like Musk got the knowledge of how how performance values work. And that's what I think that you guys are not addressing because you guys are not aware of the process. I was a federal employee for 8 years. In my case, I was seasonal, but many of the federal programs do have seasonal employees. It was big for the last 5 years, performance evaluations. You started out sitting down with your supervisor and coming up with a plan. First of all, this is the mission statement. This is how you're going to support it. This is your job. And you had to come up with the points of how you were going to work towards getting to the mission statement and the goals of the agency. My point is that even 60 days in, you had your first preliminary performance evaluation to see are you on target towards that. And then it was on an annual basis, and this is all automated. I mean, this is all done as far as the paperwork. It's documented. It would pick up, but what I see is the fault with it is that if you had a significant other, filling out the form, I mean, I can see that, I don't see how they're going to catch those people.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me, Mary, like if we go the other route, it's a lot of effort, big HR operations, all that stuff. Elon Musk just wanted to see if you were there. That's a simple, fine way to start.
Effort. Oh, God, not effort. Don't ask Elon to make effort. Don't ask Doge to make an effort to find out about what they're cutting or what they're accusing or what they say exists. No. The last thing we need from Doge is effort.
Bill, you want another government program.
Last thing we need.
We got to build another government program to save our current government programs.
No,
they're doing what the government should be doing. It's always another government program.
I didn't ask for a program. I'm just asking them to search a database.
Another program.
No, I asked them to search a database. They're searching databases right now about what seems to be their specialty. All I asked is them to search a database to create cross-reference tabs. According these tech bros should be able to do it easily because that's what they're doing inside the payments. That's how they're finding all the fraud, waste, and abuse. I'm asking them to use those skills to take it in a direction where they can analyze performance reviews, which, as Mary said, are done on an annual basis. If someone doesn't exist, there's no performance review. Pretty easy. Very, very easy. Not this stupid email thing.
But my point is that they could have, a brother or sister or mother or whatever else could be filling out because you don't see, in other words, I did not see my colleagues. I don't know what, I knew that they were, but I mean, somebody else could call in and it could have filled that form out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the other thing though is that Mary, it does that significant other, that other family member, are they producing any work product over the course of the year that could be evaluated? And that supervisor, your direct supervisor, would be responsible for the production of your work product, and that would have been cross-referenced. That's it. That's all I'm looking at. Is that we have to look at the idea of the person doing the work.
Step 2. What's wrong with that being step 2?
Because step 1 is stupid and a waste of time.
Stupid.
Yes, it is. It's phenomenally stupid.
Well, I also think that part of the pushback on all this is just people don't like to be held accountable. And there's this nice, beautiful little area of the workforce where you could go work and you aren't held that accountable, and that's government work.
I saw that. I saw that. And also I want to bring up, you don't realize, and I've said this on your show several times, and I don't think you pick up on how, even on a local basis, of how when they found out I was a Republican, my boss stopped talking to me except for what she had to. None of the other really good relationship that we ever had, all gone. They couldn't believe I was Republican. It is that bad.
It's a Democrat job process. The federal government is, and local and state governments as well. 70% of donations from government employees go to the Democrat Party. 90% of Washington, D.C. voted for Kamala Harris. Could you imagine if you had a city that managed the federal government and 90% of it supported Donald Trump? Right? People would go, well, that's a MAGA government. Here you have a Democrat-run, Democrat-infused, controlled federal government, state government, in many cases local government. It's a Democrat jobs program.
And this is the reason why we get to the idea that we need to have a loyalty test for any government worker, and that's the problem. Is because
it seems like there already is one.
No, but the assumption.
You have to take a loyalty oath. You have to take a loyalty oath every year. I had to sign a loyalty oath, and the reason I'm bringing that up, towards the end, I mean, I didn't recognize that. In other words, in it goes that you will support, the federal laws, da 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 da, and you have to sign it. When I first started, it was a big deal. You had to have it notarized. Now, did you sign it? You had to repeat it on your onboarding a thing to your supervisor. It was notarized and you signed. Towards the end, I'm not kidding. It was like, no. And I had heard that many of, when Trump was in office, they would not sign the loyalty oath. They're especially on the higher elevations, they would not sign the loyalty oath.
That is very interesting. Yeah, I bet there are, and I've heard it from a number of folks too, that when Republicans win in the White House and get in, that a lot of the administrative staff, while not explicitly Democrat progressive, work to undermine the political appointees, the new administration, and they figure, I'm still going to be here in 4 years. I'm just going to slow roll things. I'm going to get in the way. This happens in places like the EPA, the Department of Education, other things like that. And I'm just, we'll just wait this out. I've been here 15 years. I can wait another 4. And they slow roll that. And that is insidious throughout the federal government.
You have a problem. And I'm just saying, not because I'm a Republican. And Bill, I want to go back to you. I was an independent until the Tancred. It was when we were dealing with in Colorado and Tancredo. After that point, that's when I become a Republican specifically. Otherwise than that, I was an independent, and I voted both ways. I voted who I believed was the best candidate. So I struggle when I was painted as a cultist by folks about supporting, but I could see. And those 8 years that I worked, how the damage that was being done to us as people, and all the things that are trying to be addressed, these are realities, and they have been there and entrenched for so long. So I really hope that people could get behind, let's find out the fraud. Let's find out the waste. Let's get this country back on shape. And I don't care if you have a Democrat or an independent or whatever running the country, let's get it done. And thank God that Trump is doing this.
Yeah, does it matter, though, that Doge so far hasn't produced the fraud that they've claimed, and they've had to revise the numbers? And the other thing is, when we talk about the idea of, people that may be slow rolling things or people that aren't producing when they're working for the federal government, that exists across all businesses. I'm certain that everybody listening can cite a handful of examples of people they've worked with that have been completely useless employees inside the private sector. This is not necessarily something that is only the government. And that's the idea that I keep pushing back on here, that somehow the government exists in this bubble that is not a representation of what we see in the larger set of the workforce. That happens everywhere. Can they be lax and ineffective sometimes at rooting out those non-performers? Yes, absolutely. But that exists inside the corporate world. That exists inside the small business world. Everybody that I'd say that listens to this show can certainly point to a handful of employees they've come across over the course of their employment career that were complete wastes of time, that were there only to cash a paycheck, and many times were working against the efforts inside of the business. Doesn't mean it's not a purview of only the government, and that's why I push back on that characterization, because we act as if it only happens inside government. That's just human nature. That's what happens with humans.
But no,
yes, Mary.
But because of the rules and the unions, etc., I was talking, I had some propane installed yesterday, so I had the big tank, being installed. And the guy was a Democrat. And it's interesting that people nowadays were talking about who we are, whether we're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or what. And he was saying, and he's had several jobs. He's new to this kind of what he was doing. But what he was saying, he had the list of employment he had was awesome. He had the same criticism was when he worked for a city government. He said he felt like he was out like a sore thumb, in that he said they got on him when he was he worked sounded like underground, like cables and stuff in the ground. And he said they would call him and say, "Hey, time for a break." He said, "Well, let me go and fish." "No, you can't. You need to come up." And the breaks were 45 minutes. They wouldn't let him go back and do the job. He was a hard worker. Like one of those A kind of personality like I am. I worked. I was an essential considered essential. My point is, they jumped on him if he wanted to go back and finish the job.
Yep.
And that's prevalent.
Yep, you're exactly right. There's a difference between the free enterprise, free market marketplace and the government. And I love the fact that they're bringing some of that free market entrepreneurial accountability to the government.
And on the other side, I have a member of my family, and thanks for the phone call, Mary. I have a member of my family right now that is part of a union, part of a public union. And guess what? They're not guaranteed every day. A break that is mandated. And they don't get that break over and over and over. So again, there are two sides to this. And this is someone that is paid by our tax dollars, that is part of a public union, that doesn't get the mandated break time they're supposed to have each and every day.
Phone lines are open. Join the conversation. 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
More than 100 U.S. intelligence officers have been fired by the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, over explicit messages posted in a chat platform managed by the National Security Agency and meant for classified discussions. The chat room was exposed by Christopher Rufo, who posted the NSA maintains a chat system for the intelligence community called Interlink. The servers are supposed to be used for government work, but gender activists, he said, have hijacked at least two channels, LBTQA and IC Pride TWG, to discuss fetishes, kink, and sex, all legitimized as DEI, all on government time, meaning on the taxpayer's dime. Director Gabbard saying that more than 100 intelligence officers from 15 agencies had been fired, saying, quote, "This behavior is unacceptable and those involved will be held accountable." These disgusting chat groups were immediately shut down when President Trump issued his executive order ending the DEI insanity that the Biden administration was obsessed with. Our IC must be focused on our core mission, ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. They were brazen in using a national security agency platform intended for professional use to conduct this kind of really, really horrific behavior, she said. And they were brazen in doing this because when was the last time anyone was really held accountable? During President Donald Trump's first cabinet meeting of his second term, he was once again asked about his plans for Medicaid and whether funds would be cut. This as the House passed a budget bill that would extend Trump's 2017 tax cuts and implement new ones totaling $4.5 trillion for the American people, all while cutting at least $1.5 trillion in spending. President Trump was crystal clear on his intentions.
I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question, okay? This will not be read my lips. It won't be read my lips anymore. We're not going to touch it. Now, we are going to look for fraud. I'm sure you're okay with that, like people that shouldn't be on, people that are illegal aliens and others, criminals in many cases, and that's with Social Security. We have a lot of people. You see that immediately when you see people that are 200 years old that are being sent checks for Social Security. Some of them are actually being sent checks, so we're tracing that down, and I have a feeling that Pam is going to do a very good job with that. But you have a lot of fraud. But no, we're not doing anything on this.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Aguayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking the 5-point emails that federal employees were expected to send back to Elon Musk and the Trump administration on what they accomplished last week, whether or not you think it's a good idea or not. I did get a hold of Jared Polis's email to Elon Musk. 5 bullet points Elon Musk accomplished last week. Hey, Elon, last week I banned all cars in Colorado to save the planet. Sorry, your Teslas are now fancy lawn ornaments. Pedal-powered utopia starts now, comrade. Number 2, I seized every ski resort and turned them into communal tofu farms. Veils a soy empire. Hope you like your powder with a side of lectin poisoning. 3, declared all private property capitalist oppression and redistributed it to my vegan Antifa militia. Your boring company drills, they're now digging for granola bunkers. Number 4, passed a law mandating pronouns for all cows. Turns out they're non-binary and demand reparations. Beef's canceled. Enjoy your oat milk steak. Number 5, finally I torched the state budget to fund my glorious people's revolution. Colorado's now a barter economy, so send me some X stock in exchange for a hemp friendship bracelet. Thank you, Jared Polis. Email to Elon Musk. Let's go to the phones. Melissa, good morning, Melissa. What do you think of these 5-point emails to the federal government?
I think it's kind of sad that these people cannot do this. I worked for I worked for it's Amazon, or technically it was on the truck, but it was a company, very nice people, contracted out, and I got insurance right away. But we had to run so much that the insurance wasn't worth it, because I was afraid every day that I was going to break my ankle, and we had to spend a lot of times on our lunch break just organizing the truck so we could make the time. And there were so many times where I came close to not making it to the bathroom fast enough. It was crazy. And as I was leaving my house yesterday, I saw the Amazon guy, a young guy, and I said, "That's the worst job I ever had." And he said, "It's the worst job I've ever had."
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So,
gosh.
Yeah.
That's
all I had to say.
And how you had to hit all these metrics on it sounds like an hourly basis?
Yeah, 25 deliveries, and it didn't matter. And I was out west. I don't want to say exactly where, but so sometimes it could be like a farmhouse, or you had to go up some crazy driveway, and it doesn't matter how many packages, it's how many addresses. So it could be 20 packages. Like when Taylor Swift was in town, these girls were ordering Barrettes and all kinds of stuff. And anyway, all these little teeny tiny packages. It was crazy.
Wow. Look, this is how I see this situation. The federal government employee is paid for by the hardworking men and women of this country. They get their salary as a result of taxpayer dollars. This isn't coming from...
They get their deliveries.
And they get their deliveries from people like you. But
yep.
if you cannot... I put the government employee in a place that's totally unique, because you rely upon the hard work of the average citizen to get paid. So you better as hell be able to justify your job, because the money that's going to your salary is coming from the pocket of just the average Joe out there. And I want to see that justified. That's how I see it. Melissa, great call.
Yeah,
sure,
good to see you
appreciate
yesterday.
it.
That was great to see
Yeah,
her. And
thanks,
appreciate
Melissa,
the music
for coming out.
threw at me yesterday. It was really good. Yeah, the thing is, I appreciate your passion on this, but I want to see your passion be consistent, because I want to see that same passion when you're critiquing Congress. I want to see that same passion when you're critiquing the legislature. I want to see the same passion when you're critiquing the executive
100%.
branch. And
100%.
But I don't see it necessarily all the time. And not necessarily just with you, but with a lot of people, even on the text messages. There's not a critique about it's always these rank and file government employees that are there and gumming up the system, and they're not doing their work. Yet we have a Congress that hasn't been able to pass a budget for years.
Bill,
nobody's going to tell us that Congress is efficient.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I don't think you
So the
should
issue is
get
there.
paid as a member of Congress unless you can balance the budget.
And,
but
and Marjorie Taylor Greene agrees that all federal employees are worthless and shouldn't get paid, not
there
realizing
is a
that
caveat.
she's a federal employee.
There is a
getting paycheck.
caveat, though. With an elected official, the people are choosing that person. With a government employee, the people aren't choosing that person. It's somebody hired in some faraway place.
But hang on a sec.
Whose salary is dependent upon the average person.
Isn't the congressperson's salary dependent upon the average person as well?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
So
no,
why
and I'm
is it a
happy
difference?
to hold them accountable.
Yeah. So the issue.
But I'm saying there is a
different
caveat.
level.
There's a little bit of a difference there.
I'm
They
not
are
I don't
being
necessarily agree.
chosen
No,
by the people.
I do not agree, because if your bromide is the idea that these people need to be working and produce for the hard-earning Americans whose tax dollars are paying their salary, then I think that applies to everybody. I don't care if they were voted in,
I have no
they were
problem with that.
appointed,
I'm just
or
pointing out
they filled
there's
out a
little
job
bit of a difference
application.
there.
So the idea is, the thing is, I don't see any difference. I hold that line steady.
Good.
If you want to make that line, the line has to be steady.
Happy to as well.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, join the conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy and I debating the 5 bullet point email that people have to send out. Do you think it's appropriate or not? Breadman texted in 5 points of the email is easy. So, this is a good way to get a pulse.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because when it was first floated, it was the idea, it almost was the idea of a performance review. What did you do? It was a justification. The way that it was presented was not a pulse check, but justify yourself. And again, we know that Elon and his band of merry men were going to use AI to search these emails. So again, they were going to have a computer search what they were looking for humans to do. They weren't going to have the humans do the work. They were going to have computers do the work, but they were mad about it. And so, okay. But the other part is they can't necessarily cross-reference it. They can't look at it. And if the AI isn't looking for the particular, doesn't like the keywords that you're using in your email, they could justify that you're no longer relevant. Remember, some of the searches they went through, they fired nuclear investigators. They went through and they fired people looking at Ebola. They went through that based on their searches through AI and what they deemed unnecessary. So the idea they're targeted and could actually find what they're looking for through this type of a cross-reference tab is silly. This is a 19-year-old person's idea of how things should be done without having any knowledge or experience. Doge does these sort of cross-reference tabs all the time. They could have searched. They see inactive email accounts, cross-reference performance reviews, cross-reference activity logs inside the governmental system. That is the easiest, simplest way to do this. Don't waste everybody's time with a dumb email.
This is step 1 of what's going to be a much larger and longer process of cleaning up our federal government, which needs to happen, so I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah.
You're welcome to join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Mike Johnson's got a new idea for you. He's now going to add a 20% service charge to your bill. We're going to get into this and more at a restaurant. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. Unfortunately, Mike Johnston's your mayor. And that's what I want to talk about next. The Denver Gazette reporting that Denver Mayor Mike Johnston is floating a 20% service charge to tackle all the restaurant woes in Denver. So if you remember recently, a series of restaurant owners sent a message to Mayor Mike Johnston as literally a Hail Mary, going, because of crime, because of the construction on the 16th Street Mall, because of what's happening on Colfax, because of the stupid minimum wage requirements, all of that is too much for us. We literally can't keep our restaurants open. You suck as a mayor. Fix it. And what did Mayor Mike Johnston do? Floats a 20% service charge to local restaurant tabs. Then he wants to tax it in an effort to help restaurants cope with the city's minimum wage and promote what he calls pay equity among tipped and non-tipped employees. At this point, I genuinely believe that Mayor Mike Johnston is trying to destroy the city of Denver. You add this on top of wide open welcome to illegal immigrants, draining the budget, can't meet the needs, crime-ridden, people stabbed, restaurants closed, the inability to just finish a construction project on 16th Street Mall. Nobody wants to go to your stupid city anymore, Mayor. And what drives me crazy about this is how beautiful Denver used to be. I grew up here. I was born here. I was a native. I used to go downtown. I love going downtown. You have destroyed this city. It drives me crazy what they've done here. And now on top of it, your dumb idea is to tax people more. I think he wants to destroy it. Sorry, I got worked up on this one, but it really, really makes me angry what he's doing to the city of Denver. I want to hear from you. Do you think this will solve our problems? A 20% service charge on all local restaurant tabs. And then you tip, or then you don't tip. I don't know how this understands. Billy and I will talk about it next. But first, Blake Olson.
Blake Olson. Blake Olson, news and comment.
Billy, 29 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 61 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I'm sure going to the state finals is beyond your wildest dreams, so let's just keep it right there. Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. Focus on the fundamentals that we've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this.
Iconic actor Gene Hackman is dead at the age of 95. The police say that he was found in his New Mexico home along with his 63-year-old wife and their dog. 2 dogs actually survived. Foul play is not believed to be a factor. Ukrainian President Zelensky will be in D.C. tomorrow. He says he's negotiating with the U.S. over security guarantees and what he calls crucial aid. They're expected to sign a minerals deal with the U.S. so they can start paying back all of the money they owe to us. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer visits 47 today for the first time. He wants WW3, evidently, with all the globalist freaks, but we will pray they don't get their wish. Hey, speaking of praying, Scott Turner at the first cabinet meeting on Wednesday.
Lord God, today in our meeting, we pray that you will be glorified in our conversation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Scott, that was a very good job you did. You've done that before, haven't you?
Love it. Amen. Amen. Turner is the new HUD director. Elon is in charge of Doge and spoke to the cabinet Wednesday.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just call myself a humble tech support here because this is actually, as crazy as it sounds, that is almost a literal description of the work that the Doge team is doing, is helping fix the government computer systems. Many of these systems are extremely old. They don't communicate. There are a lot of mistakes in the systems. The software doesn't work. We are actually tech support. It's ironic, but it's true. The overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country a $2 trillion deficit.
And he was wearing a tech support T-shirt, and the lefties hate that. This government employee is upset because she said she works at the Capitol for the government because she's a patriot.
I think it's really cruel to fire people for poor performance when they've only had great feedback. We've never had an issue with our performance, and we're doing work for the American public. We're here for safety, and we're patriots. We love our country. That's why we're taking these jobs that don't pay us in the private sector. I'm an accountant. I could get a private sector job tomorrow.
Okay, good. Go get one. A court order requiring the Trump administration to release foreign aid funding is being temporarily paused by the Supreme Court. This is big. The Justice Department filed an emergency application to the Supreme Court Wednesday, saying they didn't have enough time to unfreeze the $2 billion in aid money, despite being ordered to release it 2 weeks ago. Parties now have until Friday afternoon to file responses. Epstein client list expected to be released today, or at least information about it. AG Pam Bondi last night with Jesse Waters.
There are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
And that is today, of course. A lunar lander is set to reach the moon's surface early Sunday morning. The Blue Ghost lander, carrying NASA's science and technology experiments, should touch down around 3:45 in the morning Eastern time. That'd be 1:45 Mountain time. Investigators have arrested a suspect connected to the deadly shooting at a Greenwood Village RTD station that happened on February 11th at the Dayton Light Rail Station. A 17-year-old boy was shot and killed, while another person was injured in an apartment assault. Greenwood Village police announced the arrest of a juvenile suspect Wednesday, but did not release any information about any charges. NFL draft hopefuls will showcase their skills for teams starting today in Indy. The first day of the scouting combine will feature defensive linemen and linebackers. Quarterbacks and wide receivers, running backs will go through workouts Saturday. 25 in Highlands Ranch, 26 in Brighton, 29 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
We are very thankful that Donald Trump and his team are saying enough is enough. They are going to save this nation for the American people.
Yes, they are. Byron Donalds. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Through Sunday, the weather will be quite nice here in Denver and along the Front Range. February ends nicely. March starts nicely before the weather changes next week. We're going to be upper 50s and lower 60s today, low to mid 60s for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nights will be mostly 20s and 30s. It'll be dry through Sunday, although Sunday will bring increasing and thickening clouds. Monday starts mild, but by Monday night into Tuesday, areas of rain and snow and temperatures trending colder. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Are you ready to transform your kitchen or bathroom into a stunning masterpiece? Look no further than The Art of Granite, your premier destination for exquisite granite, marble, quartz countertops. For over 15 years, Mitch Floria, the owner of The Art of Granite, has been crafting and installing custom countertops, fireplaces, showers, and more. Their team of experts will guide you through the selection process, ensuring you find the perfect stone to match your style and budget. Visit their showroom in Golden or browse their online inventory at theartofgranite.com. Discover the endless possibilities for your home renovation project. Mention KNUS and get a free bathroom countertop with new kitchen countertops, or choose a free kitchen or bathroom sink with any countertop package. Don't wait. Transform your home into the oasis you deserve. Schedule your free consultation with Mitch today. Go to theartofgranite.com. That's theartofgranite.com. And guys, just mention KNUS for those exclusive savings. Transform your kitchen or bathroom dreams into reality with Art of Granite. All you got to do, visit theartofgranite.com. I love Mitch, man. He is a great guy, true patriot, great American business owner. Visit theartofgranite.com. Support his business, please. All right. Speaking of businesses, I'm at a point now where I think they are purposely trying to destroy the city of Denver. This is the headline out of the Denver Gazette. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston floats a 20% service charge to tackle restaurant woes. Okay? So the mayor goes out and creates all these problems, and then wants you, in your limited budget, to pay more tax in order to try to solve the problems he's creating, knowing that with the crime and the high costs already, you're not going to want to go. This is from the Denver Gazette. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston wants to add a 20% service charge to local restaurant tabs and then tax it to help restaurants cope with the city's minimum wage and promote what he called pay equity among tipped and non-tipped employees. On Monday, Johnston told CityCast Denver, a podcast, that he has already been discussing the idea with restaurant owners. He didn't say whether they are on board. Oh, it's a joke. We just elect some of the dumbest people. All right. He also did not discuss if increasing people's dinner costs would decrease restaurant visits. Johnston has incurred the ire of some local restaurateurs who this month penned a letter expressing their frustration with the city for everything from public safety worries and negative perceptions of downtown to parking and infrastructure needs. They pointed to a series of stabbings on the 16th Street Mall over a January weekend that left 2 dead and 2 more injured. You ran your entire campaign platform on restoring our downtown Denver business districts. Dave Quarry, owner of Jack's Fish House and Oyster Bar, said in his letter to Johnston, it had gotten worse since you took the position of mayor, even though you received $550 million towards stewarding it in a different direction. He then went on to add that the current vibe and energy of our downtown streets and our longtime Lodo and Larimer guests are now driving to Cherry Creek and Northfield and Golden for dinner and entertainment. We know it's a challenge, Johnston told CityCast Denver, noting that restaurant labor costs have increased by 200% over the past decade. We had 400 restaurants close in Denver over the last 3 or 4 years, and we know that a big part of that is the increase in the minimum wage. And we want folks to make more money. This is Mike Johnston admitting that the 200% increase over the past decade has been a major contributor in the 400 restaurants that have closed in Denver in the last 3 or 4 years. The challenge, he said, however, is ensuring an equitable and living wage while allowing restaurants to thrive. Johnston said in a recent restaurant tour group, told him that the wage disparities exist across the industry, with tip servers making as much as $120,000 in annual salary because they have both the city's minimum wage plus tips, compared to the back of the house staffers, such as cooks and dishwashers, who, he said, make $40,000. And then we've talked about the tip offset that's now at the state capitol that they're trying to do. So I'm reading this, and what reeks through all this, Bill, and I'm happy to get your perspective on this, is government intervention. That the government looked at this wage disparity between front of the house and back of the house and go, wow, 120,000, 40,000, that's a big difference. You know what needs to happen? We need to step in to solve this. And so they step in and they come up with a minimum wage. Well, the minimum wage drives up the cost on everybody. So now people aren't eating at the restaurant as much. And so they're not visiting. Now restaurants are closing. Okay. So our meddling in minimum wage, well, that didn't work. So now we need to do the tip offset. So now you have Woody Woodrow Wilson down there at the state capitol trying to do the tip offset. Okay, so now we're going to meddle in this. Oh, and now we're going to add the 20% service charge to the bill automatically, and now we got to meddle here. Government meddling, particularly in the free market system, does not work. It is making things worse. What he should have done is what the government should do. Really, it's primary responsibility. Ensure the safety of the people attending these restaurants downtown. If they just did that, if they just focused in on it, put their efforts towards that, instead of all this economic meddling, they would actually have a safe community that people want to visit and then attend and spend money at these restaurants. Bill, your thoughts on this 20% service charge?
Yeah, not surprisingly, I disagree with you on the premise of the minimum wage. For a number of reasons, but that's somewhat irrelevant to my critique per se, because I just don't agree with where you're starting with it. But where I do agree with you is the ineffective solution. You are 110% correct that this is a misguided, boneheaded, anti-economic solution that could only be dreamt up by pointy-head intellectuals that believe they know how the economy works because they've been named to a particular community or group that has a government employee, tag on it. And the reason is, this is how simple it is. This is the simplest way to outline why Mike Johnston's administration is 110% wrong on this and is talking out of an orifice in their body that exists below the belly button. That's where this is coming from. And here's the example. Their solution is to make the food more expensive. That's their solution.
Yeah, right.
Is to make your trip there more expensive. I am hard-pressed to find anybody, and I'll get to the call here in a second. I'm hard-pressed to think of anyone that is going to change their economic behavior for the positive because something you're shopping for is more expensive. And the reason I don't focus on the minimum wage is because in the theory behind it is when the minimum wage goes up, a rising tide lifts all boats, that everybody above also sees a commensurate increase in their pay. That does happen sometimes in the private sector, doesn't happen sometimes in the private sector, does happen inside the government sector. But the idea being, if someone, even if that minimum wage raises the prices at the store or at the restaurant you're going to, the theory behind it is that the individuals that are shopping also have seen an increase in their income as well because they have to compete. So that increase then can be paid for by the increased wages of the person. However, and again, we can debate that's not necessarily where we're debating. We're focusing on this artificial 20% increase on your bill when you go into the store for nothing more than Mike Johnston says so. There's nothing else. He's trying to balance out what's going on in the front and the back.
What happens when this, because I think I've seen this in California. Do people still tip on top of this?
Well,
or do
the thing
you
is-
just go, well, it's baked in? No.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is if they put it as a line item on the receipt, people will stop tipping, or they'll tip less. And that's the problem. Is you're going to erode that. It's a great point. That is a great point, because if people see the ideas, here's the idea: if you walk into a restaurant, and let's say you're a large party, Jeff and I, both families of 6. Normally, we're right near that, mandatory gratuity. You bring our families plus the mom and dad or other people in the family in, we're already an 8 top. And that normally kicks in the mandatory 20% gratuity. How many of us tip on top of that mandatory gratuity? Very few, if any. And that's what you're going to see here. This 20% is going to erode the tips, because the average consumer is going to assume they're already baking it into the system. Why would I need to do this? But I disagree with tipping in the first place.
I worked basically in fast food. I was never a server.
Oh, do I have lots of hours in that?
Yeah. So help me understand why the industry would want to get rid of tipping altogether. Like, we just add 20% across. It's always done. It's always there. It's part of it goes into the salary of all the people. And there's not even a line. I guess you could keep a line on it, but to add more, but we're not going to add more.
Now, again, not surprisingly, I'm a touch cynical on this one.
Is it the restaurant owners themselves?
In part, yes. That's where, and again, I'm not saying that universally, but that has been my experience. And again, it's anecdotal, but also other people I've talked to. But the idea being that the restaurants, and there are a variety of reasons, but the restaurants have the customers subsidizing their wages. And if you take away the tips, the restaurateur now has to absorb that wage increase for a variety of reasons. Now, if it's just in mandatory, we increase the prices by 20% and then we don't tip, that's where I would go, because what I dislike is a dependency upon the customer to make my hourly wage, because not everybody is going to judge or tip based on the same things. There are people that just don't like tipping. There are people that don't think we should tip 15%. It should always be 10%. There are other people that tip a lot more, and it's not always based on how well you do your job. And so if you're going to depend on me doing my job well, and the tip is a reflection of that, that doesn't exist. But that's not an individual's motivation. So that's why I disagree with that. I disagree with the idea of asking the customer to supplement and subsidize the income that is supposed to be provided by my employer.
Isn't it a system, though, that would favor those that are better? So if you're a good server, you're going to make more.
Not necessarily.
Now everybody walks in and they're going to get paid the same.
Yeah, but not necessarily based on you being a good server, because, again, it's dependent upon that other person that is sitting on the table. And you don't know that the person that is sitting there writing the check to pay for that meal is going to say, wow, you're a great server. There could be 100 different things going on. That person could have maybe had something happen in their life where they all of a sudden have a huge car payment or a huge car repair bill. They can't afford to tip you the 20%. You may have done 30% worth of service extra. You did everything possible.
Right.
They can't afford to. There could be something where they're just grouchy and they don't think that anybody should ever get tipped above 10% because they didn't whenever they worked. Or my grandfather always put $5 down, and that was good enough for kids back then. It's good enough for you kids right now. It's not. We assume purity of motivation when we're assuming that the customer is always going to subsidize that level of income based on your performance. I have long lists of servers that we can have call the show that can give examples of times in which they went the extra mile.
We should get Mike Boyle.
Yeah.
Someone's texted. You should guys get Mike Boyle on the show too.
And that's a difficulty. But the problem is, and this is where I have the empathy for the restaurateur, is that margins are so thin that artificially increasing some of those
4 or 5%
costs
if you're
is
lucky.
very, very tough. And that's why I do understand that a rapid increase in minimum wage is incredibly difficult to deal with. When you have large jumps like Denver has had in their minimum wage levels, that can be incredibly difficult to deal with. And so that's why I do see there's some pain on the side of the restaurateur, but I would eliminate tips 110%. I think it would be a better way to go ahead. Also, though, I would also make sure that we put tax included in the actual bill. Like when we walk into the store and you see something is $5.99, tell me what it is with tax. Don't make me do math. Stop it. Stop.
Add to it.
Yeah, stop doing that.
The problems that Denver has is not complicated to me. And I've said this before over and over. The theory has to be the woman in a fur coat with pearls. The city has to be safe enough for her to go from her play to her restaurant to her car. If the city is not safe enough to do that, All right, everything else that this progressive mayor wants to do, every little plan he wants to come up with, is never going to work because half of your sales revenue, or half of the revenue that comes into the city comes from sales tax. You are dependent, Mayor Mike Johnston, on people with disposable income, and they have to feel safe. It is bottom line. It's the most basic, fundamental job you have as the mayor, that people can walk freely on the streets of your city without fearing they're going to be stabbed, shot, mugged, robbed. Figure that out. Get it done. I don't need a 20% service charge. I don't need a new program for housing. I don't need all this stuff. You can get to that when you have a nice big budget surplus because your city is so safe that people are willing to walk around. Get laser focused on the woman with a fur coat, pearls, and diamond rings so that she can go from her play to her restaurant to her car and feel safe. When you do that, you restore the city to its world-class value. And then all the sales revenue comes in. Then you can come up with your little progressive ideas, a little bleeding heart, I'm going to solve this problem, that type, all that comes. But if you can't get the fundamentals right, you're just continuing to lead the city in a wrong way. I want to hear from our callers. Would this change anything for me? A 20% service charge. Are you going, this is a great idea? No, we're going to spread the wealth around a little bit. And this is going to help restaurants and the back of the house guys, the cooks and the dishwashers. Or do you look at this and go, well, now you really made it clear to me that I'm not going to go eat in downtown Denver. I'm heading to Parker, Lone Tree, heading up north, whatever it might be, but I sure as heck aren't visiting those expensive restaurants in downtown Denver where there's crime and other problems. Want to hear from you. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law line, 720-819-5115. Other question I'd love to hear, would you rather just have a straight across the board 20% charge anyways? And just be done with tipping. No more trying to figure it out, pulling out your phone, calculating it, and all the stupid tipping that happens at a convenience store. You go get, a cup of coffee, and you walked up, and you have to take it away, and now they're expecting additional tips there. Would you like to get rid of all of that? Or is that an important source of revenue to folks? 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. I want to talk to you about my friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Look, Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis, the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk station, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
According to reports, the new FBI Director, Kash Patel, is launching an investigation into allegations that former FBI Director James Comey launched a honeypot operation to infiltrate the 2016 Trump campaign with 2 female agents. This after a whistleblower came forward with claims that the women, undercover FBI employees, infiltrated the campaign as honeypots to get information from their target. They did this by acting as if they had a sexual or romantic interest in a person involved with the campaign. The whistleblower claims that Comey ordered the investigation and, quote, personally directed it, even though there was not a specific crime to focus on, saying the operation was a, quote, fishing expedition to find a crime against Trump. The whistleblower is said to be an FBI employee that was involved in the off-the-books investigation targeting then-presidential candidate Donald Trump. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth saying the Pentagon is conducting a complete review of Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan that resulted in the deaths of 13 U.S. service members.
We're doing a complete review of every single aspect of what happened with the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan and plan to have full accountability. It's one of the first things we announced at the Defense Department for that reason, sir. Certainly, General Raisin Kane, who's on his way in, was not a part of that. Instead, was a part of leading the effort against ISIS by untying the hands of warfighters and finishing the job properly and then bringing our troops home. So we're taking a very different view, obviously, than the previous administration, and there will be full accountability.
I don't see big promotions in that group, and I think they're going to be largely gone. I know the man on my left. I think they're going to be largely gone. That was a horrible display.
The Democrat governor of Maine, Janet Mills, is fundraising off of the heated clash she had with President Donald Trump over his executive order banning biological males from women's sports.
You better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Trump saying that Maine will not receive any federal funding until it complies with the law and keeps biological males from competing against females. Now, Governor Mills is trying to capitalize on her moment in the national spotlight with her campaign putting out a statement saying, quote, I want to make one thing clear. Maine will not be intimidated by the president's threats. The work to push back against Trump and his agenda begins at the state level. Can you donate $10 to the Maine Democratic Party to make sure they have the resources to fight for our state?
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Aguayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Headline coming from the Denver Gazette. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston floats 20% service charge on all your restaurant bills in order to try to fix the problems that he has created. and Democrats down at the city have created. Text messages 5152, additional 20% tax is a horrible idea for the industry, for the city, and for taxpayers. Politicians so often default to, quote, more taxes, unquote, as the solution to everything. It's easy to spend other people's money. Great text, 5152. Let's go to the phone lines. Sheila in Denver. Good morning, Sheila. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Morning. Mike can take a hike. Get the flip out of our town. You're fired.
Now, Sheila, tell me about if for say that Mike Johnson institutes this 20% mandatory, and we're going to call it a mandatory gratuity, for lack of a better term right now. How does that change your behavior going out? How does it impact you, your family, your friends, as far as visiting restaurants? What changes, if any, would you make?
You know, let me tell you, first of all, in 95, my friends and I, we went to over 33 opening games on the at Coors.
Yeah.
And we took all of our friends' kids. We took our kids. I had number 4 on my hip. We went to every giveaway. We had the best time. We would have. There were people everywhere. The town was beautiful and thriving. So he's putting a hole in it. And nobody wants to go down there. We're a first responder family. I have 2 of my boys are police officers. They recommend don't go downtown. It's not a good idea. It's everything. Wow. It's like a ghost town. It's just very sad. And I agree with Jeff. You guys both. It's a beautiful town, and it's really. It's really frustrating.
Sheila, it's not like he's not hearing these complaints. He's hearing the complaints.
He just doesn't care.
That's what's weird to me.
Yeah.
It's like the restaurateurs are literally writing a letter to him going, for the love, please, do something.
Yeah.
And he comes back with charging more. And as this article points out, no word from the restaurant owners about how they feel about this.
Oh, he doesn't want it? No, of course not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Sheila.
We're going to say.
Yeah, I mean, imagine Sheila, if the government, if you had a small business or you and someone in the family had a business and the government came to you and said, yes, now you're going to have to charge 20% more on all the goods or services that you provide. It's mandated. It's not based on economic conditions. It's based on an artificial government line on what you have to do. I mean, imagine what would happen to everybody's small business. This is ridiculous.
We've lost them.
Yeah.
It's like he's still stuck in the China flu time.
Sheila, got an idea for you. Here's the idea. This is what a question I've got for you is this. Okay, let's say that let's say Sheila, Jeff, and I, we're sitting down and we're starting our own small business. And all of us are really interested in food, and maybe we're thinking about going into a restaurant. We know that Denver is seeing restaurants close over and over and over again. And we've got an idea. Maybe, Sheila, you have got some amazing food that are long-term family recipes, and we have all eaten them, and we know these things are winners. Now, we're going to put together a group of people, and we're going to open this restaurant, and Mike just told us that we've got to charge 20 more than what we think we can in order to sell the food. We have this artificial. What's going to happen to entrepreneurs, hypothetical like us, when we look at possibly starting a restaurant? Why would we ever start a restaurant in Denver? Why?
You'd go somewhere else, yeah.
Exactly. You'd go to Aurora, where we've got a good city council.
And go to a little small town.
Exactly.
Somewhere that because we love the people.
Yes.
I've been in food service since I was a kid. We had a little grocery store in the middle of the country. And people would come in when there wasn't happy hour.
Yeah.
And stand at the meat counter and have a few beers with a paper bag on it,
I love the paper bag.
Those good old flip tops.
Yep.
Yeah. But it just, you won't, Look, I'm tired of looking over my shoulder. I live in North Denver. Well, I love North Denver. Now they call it the Highlands. Whoop-de-doo. It's old North Denver.
Yeah, it is.
I have a garden in my backyard in the middle of the city because I want that. And don't tell me either, by the way, how much I can water or not water. Don't water. No, I'm going to water. I pay for the water. and I'm going to water my garden.
I
don't
like
like
Sheila,
looking
it's
over
a
my
safety
shoulder.
issue. It's really easy. It's a safety issue. I sure appreciate the call.
Yeah,
thanks
thanks,
so
Sheila. Have
much.
a great
We
day.
got a great text message in here, built from an expert.
Oh, good.
I don't know if you saw this. Nash
I haven't yet.
Herman, policy analyst, fiscal policy analyst at the Independence Institute, texted.
Hey, thank you.
He wrote, Bill made a great point about economics. If even experts can't agree on things like minimum wage, we need to take a humble step back and leave more to the free market. I'd rather rely on the market than bureaucrats picking winners and losers.
Yeah,
Tom
that's
Nash,
a good point.
give us a call. But
Yeah.
the Independence Institute,
I appreciate you
appreciating your
listening.
approach.
And congratulations on the John Andrews thing last night. That's so cool. That
It was
is
a
awesome.
ton of fun.
Yeah,
they
that is
honored John
fantastic.
Andrews, and John founded the Independence Institute, Centennial Institute. Pretty much a lot of the modern conservative movement came
Yeah.
from John Andrews. He was like a little Johnny Appleseed of
Yeah.
conservative think tanks.
I love the Independence Institute because in some ways I feel a little like they're inspired by the pushback against the system that I am. We don't always agree on
That's
things,
Caldera for
but
sure.
yes, but I love where their heart is and where their drive is, and they got some super smart people there. So thanks for listening. I appreciate that.
Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about Wound Care Associates of Colorado?
Now, Mike Johnston is trying to open up a huge wound inside of our restaurant industry here in Denver, but I'm talking about something a little bit more personal to you and I. Those slow healing cuts, diabetic ulcers, pressure sores, things that seem like not necessarily a big deal, but they can turn into a really big deal, and why you need to get those things taken care of right away. That's why I'm really excited to talk to you about Wound Care Associates of Colorado. They are brand new in our state, and they are absolutely 110% changing the game for two reasons that we're going to outline. First, they're offering that old school concierge service, the house calls. Plus, they're doing it differently than every other wound treatment facility out there because they want to fix your wound. Strange, isn't it? Yes. Wow. A medical group that wants to make sure you're healing. Crazy. I know. Amazing. Wow. Now, here's the deal. With Wound Care Associates of Colorado, the reason this can be a big deal is because in my family, my aunt had a chronic wound on her leg, and she was going to a treatment facility that was just maintaining that wound. They just wanted to clean it out. They weren't trying to make it get better. Her wound never got smaller, never started to heal. And when it did, it almost seemed as if they were working against the healing process. That's my own personal opinion about what I saw and the impact on her life. Now, here's where things get dangerous. We know that open wound, that sore, that cut is the perfect gateway for dirt, bacteria, germs to get access to your body. That's how it happens. That's why you put Band-Aids on. That's why you stitch up open wounds and cuts. That's why after they do surgery, they bring you in the hospital and make sure that it stayed clean for a while. That's why they do it. But many wound care facilities don't worry about that. My aunt developed MRSA because she was exposed to it at one of those facilities. That ended up in a long series of lengthy, painful hospital stays, ending with some amputations. Jennifer Walker, who started Wound Care Associates of Colorado, had a similar story in her family, but it was her uncle, and her uncle passed away because of the infection that started with a small cut on his toe. This is a serious deal. It may look like a small deal, but it is a big deal. And now, Wound Care Associates of Colorado, reach out to them at coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com, if you or somebody in your family is dealing with something like this. And they're different because they do that old school house call concierge service. Their wound certified nurse practitioner comes to your house. You get the treatment you need in the private and comfort of your own home. Don't have to worry about transportation. You're not sitting in a waiting room, and you're not going to get exposed to other dirt, germs, and bacteria like my aunt was. Okay, this is different. These are house calls. You get a personalized treatment plan they set up for you. Their wound-certified nurse practitioner can change orders, everything else, can do the whole 9 yards. Plus, they're going to make sure your wound heals. They realized here in Colorado, those other wound treatment facilities are just maintaining it, like what happened with my aunt. No, they're going to fix it. They're going to make sure that that dirt, germs, and bacteria can't get access to your body because they're going to make sure that your body heals. That's different. It's crazy that nobody else is doing it, but these are the guys. These are the people to trust. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Reach out to them at coloradowound.com. coloradowound.com. You will get the personalized treatment that you deserve. Old school, like a house call, and they're going to make sure that wound heals. Don't mess around. It became a big deal for my family, a big deal for Jennifer Walker's family. Both of us don't want you and your family to go through the same tragedy. Get it? All right. Check them out today, coloradowound.com. coloradowound.com. When you reach out to Wound Care Associates of Colorado, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show. coloradowound.com. It really does help us out. Thanks.
They
Mitch.
are fantastic.
Yes.
coloradowound.com. We're talking Denver Mayor Mike Johnston floating a 20% service charge to tackle restaurant woes. Denver Gazette reporting.
That's a wound.
You know what this speaking of that, it's like, come on down to Denver for your free stabbing provided by the city.
Yes, exactly. Hey, but at least we have an advertiser that'll help that wound heal. Just saying. That's a bad endorsement. They're going to be mad at me for that.
That's how I see it at this point.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's like punishing people for coming to the city of Denver.
Exactly.
All right. Join the conversation. Would love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS, downtown Denver. Now 20% more stabbings.
Jeff and Bill Show. If you say his name, he hears it.
I know.
It appears.
Like Beetlejuice. Cool. Mike Boyle.
Right. We're talking this headline from the Denver Gazette that's going ultra viral. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston floats a 20% service charge to tackle the restaurant woes. He has not given a lot of details about this. He mentioned it on a podcast. He doesn't say if the restaurant owners he's talking to even like it.
That's weird.
I think at this point they just basically want to are putting up a giant sign saying, "Stay away from Denver."
Yeah.
Because you come down here, everything's more expensive. But I don't know restaurants nearly as well as Mike Boyle. He's joining us now. Good morning, Mike.
Morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Bill. First of all, thank you so much for that wonderful show you hosted yesterday at the IHOP in Centennial. It was just a ball. Wonderful, wonderful crowd, big crowd. So thank you for that. You know, I'm reminded a number of years ago when Lodo was starting to develop, a guy named Gene Tang used to own the Cafe Potpourris around town, and he opened 1515 Market. He opened a restaurant right there at 1515 Market, and a guy pulled up. I was standing right near the front entrance having a drink with him, and a guy pulled up, and he said, "I've been looking all over the place for a place to park. I had to pay," we're talking 25 years ago now. He said, "I had to pay $10 to park." Now it's probably 30 or 40. He said, "I had to pay $10 to park, had to walk 3 blocks in the cold to get here before I even sit down and have a drink and a meal." So I think that the message there is when you start to create impediments to people's reasons for going out or where they go. If 400 restaurants have closed in the last 3 years, that might just be natural attrition, end of leases, people turning 65, 70 and being tired of it, family restaurants. But we hear about it now so much because of social media. And it's not just the minimum wage that's keeping people away. It's the other regulations of having to offer a 401k. You know, a 23-year-old server is trying to think about where he's going to go have a couple cold beers after work, not when he's 65 years old. When you talk about you guys know a lot more about having kids than I do, but 12 weeks of both male and female paternity leaves. We all know people that are, you know, when we had my daughter, labor in the afternoon, birth that evening, picked her up the next day. If I had 12 hours off, I'd be surprised. So I just think it's the regulations. The minimum wage is an easy, very visual target, but it's all the other stuff that they slap on. And when you start going to a restaurant and they have a 2% public improvement fund fee, when they have a 3% back of the house fee, when they have a 1.5% utilities fee, I've seen that. That just becomes reasons not to go. I know a lady that booked a convention in downtown Denver. They were going to stay in downtown Denver. They were going to go to restaurants in downtown Denver and moved it. Now, that's obviously anecdotal, but I think that when you create reasons for people not to do something, it gives them an excuse to do something else.
That's exactly right. And I imagine Mike Boyle, host of the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show, that, you know, restaurant owners in Cherry Creek, maybe around the Denver metro area, may not mind those so much because I imagine they're seeing people visit their locations as opposed to heading downtown.
Well, and of course, Cherry Creek is still Denver, and there's other places along Sobro, and there's other places along South Colorado Boulevard, and then you got the hospital, what used to be the hospital district at 9th and Colorado. But yes, I think going downtown even exacerbates, Jeff, those
That's
conditions.
right. Mike Boyle, host of the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show. Go to MikeBoyle.com.
Yes, Mike's the best.
This is all where the conversation's happening about the future of the city. Great to hear from Mike Boyle. We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Loser!
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club. Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser. You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser. You are such a loser. Loser.
Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill, can you hear me? So, guess who just commented on my Grok-inspired post about Mayor Mike Johnston and Elon Musk?
No, what?
Guess who just commented on my Grok-inspired post of Mayor Mike Johnston emailing Elon Musk?
Who?
Your favorite.
What?
Elon Musk just commented.
No way. Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic.
That's amazing.
That is wonderful.
Dude, I love this tool.
That is fantastic. Oh, you're not referring to me. So no. When he said tool, I was thinking maybe it was. Okay.
He did fire and then laughing emoji.
Oh, that's fantastic.
On the little, dear Elon.
Oh,
here.
that's wonderful.
Hey there, Space Cowboy.
Good job. Good job. That is fantastic. Nicely done. That is wonderful.
Free Teslas for all the listeners.
Oh, that is so cool.
All right. Good morning. You're listening to a Jeff and Bill show. I've never been commented by Elon Musk. That's amazing.
That is so cool. I want to see what it does to your followers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be... Dude, X is, I will tell you, for me, X is an amazing platform. I love it. Let's go to Jim real quick in Sterling. Good morning, Jim. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning, and thanks for a good show, you guys. I got a question for both of you. If we get rid of the minimum wage, scratch minimum wage, and just go back to paying people for what their talents actually are and what they're capable of doing, what do you guys think about that?
No, I am not in favor of minimum wage because the actual minimum wage is zero. Because what ends up happening is that prices go up, it becomes a across-the-board tax, and then restaurants fire people, and the new minimum wage for that person is zero.
A question I have on this for both of you is how much money do you think the government should pay on food support, rent support, healthcare support? How much of our tax dollars should go towards that?
But they have the get rid of scratch minimum wage. Minimum wage should just go out the window. I will pay you $10 an hour. I'll pay you $25 an hour.
I understand
that,
Jim. I understand that. But what I'm asking, Jim, what I'm asking though is how much of your tax dollars are you willing to funnel towards those government
Scratch
support.
the tax dollars.
No, but that's your dollars, though. And here's the reason why I asked that question is because the world's largest employer is Walmart. But the vast majority of Walmart employees receive government services because they're not 40-hour-a-week workers. So you, I, Jeff, the rest of our listeners, hang on, wait, Jim, the rest of our listeners subsidize their lower wage. And we do that by paying food stamps, by paying rent support, and by paying healthcare support. We cover that gap. Those people are not indigent and laying in the street. So if you want to remove things like the minimum wage, we have proof in our past history of what happens then. But the result is going to be all of us contributing more of our tax dollars to government support services.
You don't have to go to a restaurant.
But you have to eat, Jim. And if the person isn't
Your
making...
grocery store.
I know that, but you're going to pay food stamps in order for them to survive. That's what will happen. That's what's going to happen if we have the no minimum wage, because the people that are underneath that level...
The subsidies have to stop. If the subsidies stop, with everybody getting the subsidies, and the minimum wage, I'll pay you $5 an hour, I'll pay you $100 an hour, depending on what you're worth.
Well, now we're getting to something that is Dickinsonian, because if you go back to Charles Dickens and when he was writing, the vast majority of the population was in abject poverty. They couldn't feed themselves. That's what you're advocating for. Because you're not going to provide social services, and you're not going to make sure they get that the companies have to pay them money in order to feed themselves. So you're looking at abject poverty. And so the question is, you'd have to look around your social circle and ask, how many of my friends do I want to have starve? And once you answer that question, then we can talk about wages. Because that's what's going to happen. The company isn't going to, out of the goodness of their heart, make sure that you can pay for yourself. That's just what it is, Jim. I appreciate the phone call. That's just what's going to happen.
Thanks. Appreciate the call. You're welcome to join the conversation. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Coming up here in just a second, we're going to talk with Jarrett Stepman. He's the columnist for the Daily Signal about New York City's notorious Roosevelt Hotel. Ending illegal immigrant housing. What was taking place in the Roosevelt Hotel? How is Mayor Eric Adams changing it? He's going to give us the latest. You're not going to want to miss this conversation. Let's check in first with Blake Olson.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy. Elon's ex-friend, Jeff. That's awesome. 37 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 61 today. Going to be a beautiful day. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
All right, come over here. You and you. Hey, Whiskers, come over here. Move the ass when I call you. Get in. You.
Academy Award winning actor Gene Hackman, best known as Jimmy Popeye Doyle in The French Connection, is dead at the age of 95. Police in New Mexico say Hackman and his wife of more than 3 decades were found dead in their Santa Fe home Wednesday afternoon. The Santa Fe Sheriff's Office says that they do not believe foul play was a factor. Local reports say the actor's dog was also found dead in the residence.
Focus on the fundamentals that we've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this.
Hoosiers, my favorite. Love that one. Speaking of winning, it's day 38 of DJT, and the wins keep on coming. The Supreme Court ruled that 47 can freeze all the foreign aid. Everything that Doge is doing is constitutional. UK's Keir Starmer, that weirdo, visits the White House today. And tomorrow, Ukraine's president, i.e. dictator Zelensky, will come to the White House so he can sign a deal that will help us get some of the money back that we all gave him. DJT says tariffs against Canada and Mexico will start on March 4th. In a post on Truth Social this morning, Trump said that China will also be charged an additional 10% tariff on that date as well. The president said the tariffs are meant to stop fentanyl from entering the U.S. Former FBI Director James Comey is officially being investigated, as we know, and expecting more people to talk now that that word came on Wednesday. He tried to ruin the lives of DJT and patriots like General Mike Flynn.
These people are busted. And so for Jim Comey, that's what I said earlier. Jim, if you get this message, start thinking about what you're gonna give up, because you're gonna give up some of your freedom because you're gonna go to jail. You must go to jail because of what you did. But maybe they'll cut you a little bit of a deal, and they'll put you in a softer prison for a shorter period of time because you're able to give up some evidence on some of these other people who are even more deeper than you involved in this. Because Jim, you know exactly who I'm.
We're not going to white-collar resort prison. No. We're going to federal pound-me-in-the-ass prison. I don't want to go to any prison.
Speaking of prison, AG Pam Bondi says information on and about the Epstein client list will be released today.
There are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
On with Jesse Waters last night on Fox. A Loveland woman is accused of trying to plant explosives at a Tesla dealership. Chris Padgett with the Loveland Police Department says 40-year-old Lucy Grace Nelson was arrested Monday before she could act.
There's been some rumors that it was just some fireworks or bottle rockets, and that is not the case. That is not true. The devices that were discovered had potential for serious damage.
Let's see here. Police say that the arrest came after they launched an extensive investigation last month following vandalism involving an incendiary device at the dealership, or devices, that is. Nelson was connected to the vandalism. Police haven't determined if others were involved. Nelson has posted a $100,000 bond, while Loveland authorities are working with federal partners in the case. 33 in Boulder, 35 in Wheat Ridge, 37 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
There's always fat on the chicken. There's always fat.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Through Sunday, the weather will be quite nice here in Denver and along the Front Range. February ends nicely. March starts nicely before the weather changes next week. We're going to be upper 50s and lower 60s today, low to mid 60s for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nights will be mostly 20s and 30s. It'll be dry through Sunday, although Sunday will bring increasing and thickening clouds. Monday starts mild, but by Monday night into Tuesday, areas of rain and snow and temperatures trending colder. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to talk to Jarrett Stepman here in just a second. I want to tell you about my friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan, pro-life, pro-faith, pro-family, pro-America. That matters, right? You want somebody with your values on your side. It sends a great message. Dan Caplis, sterling reputation in Colorado. And while he's a great guy with solid values, what really matters is, can he win? Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law, so trusted that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. He accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that Dan can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him the call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. All right, New York City's notorious Roosevelt Hotel to end illegal immigrant housing. Jarrett Stepman, columnist with the Daily Signal. The Trump administration is swiftly bringing about some level of normalcy to the border, and it's already having a significant impact around the country. One sign of that return to normalcy is New York City Mayor Eric Adams' announcement on Monday that Roosevelt Hotel will shut down sometime in the next few months. The hotel had become an international symbol for President Joe Biden's catastrophic open border policies. According to Fox News, the Roosevelt Hotel, located in the heart of Manhattan, housed nearly 200,000 illegal immigrants since it was turned into a shelter in May of 2023. While the hotel was often celebrated by the legacy media as the 21st century Ellis Island, it had become a serious blight on the city. It was obviously a haven of disorder, misery, and criminality. Joining us to provide some comment is columnist Jarrett Stepman. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you here. We are now Elon Musk's favorite new talk radio show. I don't know, but we're just happy today he's commenting on the show. Yes. Right? Jarrett, what did you find out about the Roosevelt Hotel?
Yeah, I think this news is pretty big. I actually live in New York City, and the fact that the Roosevelt Hotel, which has really become notorious, it was at one time a four-star hotel in the heart of Manhattan that had fallen on hard times. It took a substantial financial deal to house illegal immigrants just after the COVID and all that. It actually got over $200 million contract from New York City alone. Not just that, it got tens of millions of dollars from the federal government to keep its operations running. As you said, it's housed over nearly 200,000 illegal immigrants just in the last few years. The fact that it's shutting down now, and it's not just Roosevelt Hotel, actually, there are 50 other illegal immigrant shelters in New York City that are going to be shutting down, according to Mayor Eric Adams. I think this is a big moment, especially where we were even just a few years ago. If you were in New York City, you saw these shelters popping up everywhere. There were many, countless young men, especially in the 18 to 25-year-old range, would gather in front of these places. It's very clear now that many of them were involved in criminal activity, including gang activity. The Trinidad Agua gang has been extremely active in these places, using them as recruitment centers. And as I said in my piece, the Roosevelt Hotel was a blight on the city. It was increasing crime. It was really a symbol of the Biden administration's failed open border policies that were danger to the country and to the public at large.
We're talking with Jarrett Stepman, columnist with the Daily Signal. Jarrett, that name Trinidad Aragua is one that we know very well because you're talking to a show that broadcasts from Aurora, Colorado. We went down and actually interviewed the people because what happened around all that here in Aurora was we had a city councilwoman and a guy running for Congress that were getting messages from law enforcement that and residents that were saying we have a serious gang problem, and they raised that. And then the mayor of both Aurora and the city of Denver, and then the governor said, no, nothing's happening here. Don't worry about it. And we went down, actually went to the apartment complexes and interviewed people, and they were like, oh, there's gang members. They are right there. And they would point to us, and they would slowly drive by and take pictures of us. It was quite intimidating. So we knew early on that Trinidad Aragua was operating here in Aurora, even though elected officials were trying to downplay it. What was New York City's experience like with this particular gang?
Yeah, it actually very much transformed Midtown. It definitely brought a surge in criminality and crime. Just this last fall, I think NYPD said that about 75% of the crimes in the Midtown area were being conducted by illegal aliens. So now, some of those statistics are hard to identify because the city doesn't allow the tracking of illegal immigrants in the area, so that becomes very difficult to track. But according to NYPD, those were the numbers, and you could see it even in the city that crime was up, and it was a lot of retail kind of crime. There were certainly more. There was more violent crime in the city. Again, when you import a violent gang and you have a huge number of people, desperate people, and a lot of young men in particular, this is what you're going to have. And you're absolutely right that there was an absolute failure on the part of the legacy media. In fact, I would say you could even say a cover-up to report on these issues. And these are things that people are seeing on the ground. It was very obvious that there was criminal activity going on in this hotel and organized crime. The people covering it were mostly independent journalists. Daily Signal actually sent one of our journalists there too. And, most of them were kind of stonewalled during this episode. But the locals knew what was happening. It became very clear in the last few years. And I do think that that's some of the blowback that you saw on this issue, why there's been such an Overton window move on immigration, because a lot of people saw this right on their own doorstep practically. It couldn't be hidden by the media in any sense. People knew that something very bad was going on, that it was being exacerbated by an administration that simply didn't care.
We're talking with Jarrett Stepman, columnist with the Daily Signal. He's got a new piece out about the Roosevelt Hotel and what's happening in New York City. I want to press on that a little bit and explore this because, look, we all grew up. I visited Ellis Island. My goodness, the history. We're a welcoming society. All these people that came to America that have made America great. The immigrant makes America great. The stories, you can research your history, family history. My wife's family, newly immigrated just 2 generations ago from Amsterdam. So, you inherit these stories, and then you have folks going, well, Roosevelt Hotel is just the modern day version of Ellis Island. And even back then in the, early 1900s, there was anti-immigrant fears. We have a major news anchor here in Denver that likes to kind of point that out, that anytime immigrants show up, there's a nativism that develops and anti-immigrant feelings that develop. But this did seem different than what happened in the past. Can you explain any of that?
It felt very different. It felt forced. It felt like the American people had no say in the numbers or the kind of people that were coming to the country. I mean, this is why we have immigration laws. This felt completely lawless, like it was being imposed from on high, especially when you see, again, the kind of people that were being brought to these places. I mean, I had one of these shelters pop up near my home in New York City in Tompkins Square Park. Most of these were men in their early 20s. This weren't even families or anything like that. A lot of them loitered in the park all day. It created a huge mess. There was an obvious increase in crime in the area. You've seen a lot of city resources being now diverted to this issue. And again, without any kind of say from the American people, as if this is what we wanted. I think Americans want a just and legal immigration system. I don't think Americans want zero immigration, but I think the last few years, it really feels like that system was hijacked on behalf of open borders NGOs, an administration that believed in open borders, refused to identify or address the crisis other than to sweep it under the rug. And I think there's an understandable blowback from the American people who have lost patience with this issue. They've seen that their neighborhoods get transformed. They've seen the criminality. They don't want that. They want something that's organized, that's fair, that's safe. That's not what this feels like at all.
We're talking with Jarrett Stepman. He's a columnist with the Daily Signal. Latest piece out, New York City's notorious Roosevelt Hotel to end illegal immigrant housing. So what we're learning in Colorado and what Mayor Mike Kaufman of Aurora is trying to figure out through FOIA requests is the city of Denver put out a giant banner a few years ago. It said, "We heart immigrants." And they welcomed 40,000. Now, you guys had 200,000 just in one hotel. We had 40,000 that came to the entire city. And what the mayor did was provide 6 months of apartment living, debit cards for them to live off of, workforce training, and then legal services. He put up this entire process together. Then they ran out of money. Then they secretly tried to bus people to other cities. That got exposed. And then what ended up happening, that was kind of the root of the crime, and this is what Mayor Mike Kaufman's trying to get to, is that the city, with that initial 6-month payment to apartment complexes, stopped. So the money went to the apartment complexes, then stopped. And illegal immigrants who, since they arrived here, had never paid any rent, didn't continue to pay rent. So they had no jobs. They weren't paying the landlords. The landlords couldn't evict them. And so they became essentially these apartment complexes of despair. That was kind of the formula that created all this chaos here in Denver. Was it similar in New York City? Did you see a lot of social services going, and then the money start to run out, the budgets start to squeeze? That created problems in other areas. Help me understand how New York City looked compared to what we dealt with here in Denver.
Yeah, absolutely. And New York, of course, spent even more money on this issue. I mean, spending, they just recently had a contract over $200 million with Roosevelt Hotel that was canceled. Interestingly enough, the hotel is owned and operated by Pakistani Airlines, which is owned by the Pakistani government. So it was actually a government-owned enterprise, which I find incredible that taxpayer dollars, not just New Yorkers' dollars, but federal money was going directly to the Pakistani government through this. I think the namesake of the hotel, Theodore Roosevelt, wouldn't have been too happy with that. But you had an enormous strain on social services, on the resources of the city, at the same time that New York passed a law to increase something called congestion pricing, which is they were going to charge people simply for driving through Midtown New York, saying that, well, they needed the money to keep these services going. I think a lot of people find that to be awfully rich, given the fact that they've spent so much money on this issue, paying for people who are not even citizens of the country. I think that's where you get a lot of the anger, that it feels like there's going to be a tax on a lot of especially poor and working class Americans who are just trying to get to their job, to fund essentially these massive services that have created issues, have created crises, created crime that haven't really benefited the city in any meaningful way, and have actually created now a multi-stage problem that needs to be dealt with. I know that they're trying to shuffle some of these people into new facilities. They've tried to create another facility in the Bronx in New York. That's not going over well. Residents there are noticeably livid and showing up at town hall meetings yelling and angry, because they've seen how this has impacted other parts of the city, where a lot of public facilities are being taken over to be used, schools, public spaces, money, wealth. They see how this is becoming a drain on the budget and the things that people come to rely on. And that's what's unacceptable about this. It seems like people who are our citizens are placed last, people who are not citizens are placed first, a complete inversion of what citizenship is supposed to be.
That is the exact debate that's happening here in Denver, too. And we've had Aurora City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky on. And that's the bet, right? You had some cities that were going to prioritize our citizens first. The city of Aurora saying we're not going to put $1 towards illegal immigrants. Our citizens come first. And then you had the city of Denver going, no, we are going to prioritize illegal immigrants first, and we're going to cut services like senior swimming, that type of thing, that was taking place in the city of Denver. And so you have to prioritize. We're talking with Jarrett Stepman. He's a columnist with the Daily Signal. Now, Jarrett, tell us about Mayor Eric Adams. We're watching this from afar. He's the mayor of the Big Apple. We saw the charges. We saw the charges drop, the investigations. What is he doing on illegal immigrants? Give us some insight into Mayor Eric Adams. And do you see him switching parties?
Yeah, it's very interesting, the genesis of Adams' shift on this issue. In fact, he actually kind of shifted during the Biden administration. That's what made some of these charges so suspicious, because it was the moment that he flipped and started to turn on the Biden administration when these so-called corruption charges were dropped on him. Now, some of them may be credible. They say he was getting favors from the Turkish government at the time, but the timing of it is awfully suspicious. And I do find it interesting that they're going after Adams now for upholding the law. I mean, that's what he's trying to do. He's saying that he's going to work with the incoming Trump administration. He's going to allow ICE to come into Rikers and to actually operate in the city. They've been pushed out before. And frankly, it sort of looks like the New York political establishment, the Democrat establishment, doesn't want any member of that establishment working with the Trump administration. They want to maintain this as a sanctuary state. They want to maintain the immigration policies of the previous Biden administration. And so now they're going after him. And I think the biggest crime that he committed was going on Fox News with Tom Homan and appearing to be in some ways allied with the Trump administration. That, I think, was the real crime that he committed. And I don't know if he would actually change parties. I think at best he may go independent. He certainly has an election coming up in November. That'll be interesting to see. But actually, I think he's echoing the opinions of a lot of his constituents. I think that's the change to begin with. It's just being a politician. He saw the way the winds were blowing. He saw a lot of angry people in his city, and he wanted to stay in power. So he decided that, this illegal immigration problem that we're all dealing with, I care about that. And that's the flip that he made. A lot in the New York political establishment haven't made that change. They want to continue the way things are going. But it is interesting to see his evolution. Now, the New York mayor is sort of a weak position in the city. The city council and even the governor have a lot of power over the city. So there is a limit to what he can do. But it is interesting. It is important, of course, the Trump administration sees him as a potential ally to actually deal with this issue in the city.
It's wild to me, Bill, that you could end up with New York City and a mayor going, no, we're done with illegal immigration. We're gonna push it out. We're not spending money on it. And then Denver, which was once known as the Wall Street of the West and a rather conservative state, is like, no, we're going to double down on illegal immigrants. That's just crazy to me. We're talking with Jarrett Stepman. He's a columnist. You can follow, he's a columnist with Daily Signal. You can follow him on X at Jarrett Stepman. That's spelled Jarrett Stepman, Stepman, doing great work with the Daily Signal, covering all this. I mean, there's so many complicated aspects of this too, Jarrett. When we went down and interviewed folks at the Aurora complex where this was taking place, what was striking to me was the frustration was not race-based. It was location-based, or it was nationality-based, okay? So if I went and talked to people that were residents of these apartment complexes and they were from Guatemala or Nicaragua or Colombia, they blamed all the problems on the Venezuelans. And then I would talk to the Venezuelans, and the Venezuelans are like, why is everyone blaming us with the problems? And they would, point to somebody else. It's the black gangs that are the problems or something like that. When you get into the illegal immigration issue, it gets very complicated. It's not race-based. It tends to be nationality-based, and traditional frustrations pop up there. Do you see that in New York? Do you see black community having frustrations with the Venezuelans, and then the Colombians having frustrations with the Nicaraguans and all that stuff? Does that play out in New York as well?
Well, sure. I mean, honestly, that's sort of always been the tale in New York City. I mean, I think that's actually weirdly traditional. I think the part of the issue is that you have such large-scale immigration from particular places, and especially during the Biden administration, where the scale of it was absolutely enormous, coming from many, not just South American countries, but we had people coming in from parts of Africa, from the Middle East, and you have these various groups that are rushed in very quickly. They're often tied to criminal activity that is happening in those countries. I mean, a lot of the places they're coming from are places that are riddled with organized crime. So they're bringing those values and perhaps even those gang ties, those criminal ties, with them to the United States. And of course, these people are not vetted in the traditional sense. They've just come through basically a porous border. And so they've recreated those conditions that have gone on in their own home countries. In fact, I suspect that many of these countries intentionally encourage some of these people to come to the United States because they wanted to get rid of them. They wanted it to be America's problem, not their own. Again, that gets to the issue. Why did we not have an administration that wasn't willing to defend Americans, our national sovereignty, our interests? It seems like that was just nowhere in the previous administration's worldview. Any criticism of that was you were attacked for being racist or nativist, but that's not nativist to say that we don't want wide-scale criminality coming in from other countries. And yeah, that's absolutely been an issue in New York. It's very prevalent here. It's created a lot of friction, a lot of tension, and it is a big problem.
Jarrett Stepman, great reporting with the Daily Signal. Be sure to follow him on the X at Jarrett Stepman. Thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show this morning.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'll continue to follow his work there. I want to tell you guys about my friend Mitch Floria and the Art of Granite. Are you ready to transform your kitchen or bathroom into a stunning masterpiece? Look no further than the Art of Granite, your premier destination for exquisite granite, marble, quartz countertops. For over 15 years, Mitch Floria, the owner of the Art of Granite, has been crafting and installing custom countertops, fireplaces, showers, and more. Their team of experts will guide you through the selection process, ensuring you the perfect stone to match your style and budget. Visit their showroom in Golden or browse their online inventory at theartofgranite.com. Discover the endless possibilities for your home renovation project. Mention KNUS and get a free bathroom countertop with new kitchen countertops, or choose a free kitchen or bathroom sink with any countertop package. Don't wait. Transform your home into the oasis you deserve. Schedule your free consultation with Mitch today. Go to theartofgranite.com. That's theartofgranite.com. Mention KNUS for those exclusive savings and transform your kitchen or bathroom dreams into a reality. Theartofgranite.com. Is Denver heading in the direction of being more progressive and leftist as it relates to illegal immigration than New York City? Seems like it. How do you feel about that? Join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So, New York City's shutting down the Roosevelt Hotel. You don't see that in Denver. They're still kind of doubling down. Bill and I are talking about next week. Mayor Mike Johnston's heading before Congress to talk about this. Do you see any backing off from Mayor Mike? He initially was going, we're gonna send the police. We're gonna stand at the county line. But as far as services provided, kind of the opening and welcoming, Denver's still very much a sanctuary city.
Yeah, the thing for me is that I think we will see a change in behavior if the change in behavior governs whether or not Mayor Mike Johnston will get reelected. Because even what, with the Jared that was just with us from the Daily Signal, it was great the work that he did. But part of it, I understand that he was drawing the conclusion that when Eric Adams started to push back on the Biden administration, then the legal entanglements happened. I haven't seen that in the timeline. What I've seen is that the legal entanglements were dropped once Eric Adams took a different position, that it was more of a quid pro quo as far as when he changed that. So I believe that Mayor Eric Adams in New York is going to run as a Republican in this next cycle. I think that he has burnt the bridges on the Democrat side. And I think that if we wanted to see the same change inside of Denver Mayor Mike Johnston, it would be because he needs to change his party affiliation in order to maintain his job. You've been around a lot more politicians than I have, and so I'm a little more cynical about it. And I do believe that at the bottom line, many times it is more about keeping my job and keeping my power.
Your cynicism's well placed, my friend.
Yeah, than sticking to my principles and priorities. I think those are for sale. Yeah.
I just find it interesting. I find it fascinating that Denver.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy.
More progressive than New York City.
That is
when
really
it comes
weird.
to illegal immigration.
Especially because I grew up in an era where you're on the tail end of it, but I grew up in the era where you would go to Times Square in New York, and it's hookers and drug dealers and stuff, and now you just got Dirty Elmo. I mean, so it's a totally different type of an idea, and so that's what I see. I still see the idea that Denver's going the other direction.
It's this
where we used to have the nice downtown, and now we're going back. Now we're going towards where Times Square was, 20, 30 years ago.
It's the white savior progressive complex that exists. I'm going to write a piece on this because that's the Denver progressive. They have the savior complex. It's why you can't break through. It's why the economic issues don't really matter to them. They're not Midwest or Rust Belt progressives. They are they have the savior complex, and they're smart enough to withstand the economic problems that come with it.
Yeah.
But they really believe they're there to save people from the oppressors.
Okay. I got something for you on this in the
Good.
column. This is where you need to start with.
Yes.
Okay. And again, you may have some of this reference point, but you might not. You got to go back to what would be a mid to late 80s cartoon. Now, they're still around right now. You can buy the toys and stuff in stores. They don't necessarily have the same cartoon, but you need to go back to this. What it is you need to go back to the Care Bears. Because you realize that if you watch that cartoon, yes, and here's the idea is when the Care Bears faced something that was huge and was, going to impact their world or their worldview, what they did is they all got together, they held hands, and they just cared really hard. And because it was called the Care Bear Stare.
Yeah.
And the little rainbow stuff shot out of their tummies. And so that's what it is.
That is exactly right.
That's what it is. They're going to get together and they're just going to care harder than everybody else. And because of that, their emotions will take over and win the day. That's where you got to start with that.
Brilliant start. I appreciate that. That's brilliant, Bill.
Thank
you. Speaking of caring, we care about your hair. If the last couple of years have taught us one thing, it's to value the things we can control, and addressing hair loss is no exception. Our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration can reverse years or even decades of hair loss with their simple one-day treatment. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and your new hair, backed by the Advanced Hair Guarantee. It works for bald spots, receding hairlines, thinning hair for men, women, or younger or wiser. Advanced Hair can address many different patterns of hair loss. Advanced Hair's top-rated physicians, like Dr. Tanya Pauls, have changed tens of thousands of people's lives, and now It's your turn. Schedule your free consultation by calling 720-459-HAIR. And to celebrate the new year, get special financing, 250 free hair grafts, and $250 off. Value the things you can control and start regrowing your own natural hair today. That's 720-459-HAIR, or become inspired with before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So last night we honored John Andrews down at the Independence Institute. He founded the Centennial Independence Institute as well as the Centennial Institute. And speaking of that, do you know a high school student who has a passion for engaging in culture and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics with an emphasis in public policy prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. All right, let's go back to the phone lines quickly. Joe Arvada. Good morning, Joe. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning, Jeff and Bill. Hey, I was on 76 yesterday in my pickup truck. I've never seen 76 roads so bad. I blame this on Mike Johnson, Jerry Polis. I like to see Jerry Polis and Mike Johnson fly in a Goodyear blimp.
Fly away. No, that's Joe. That's because they want you to ride your bike.
I'm telling you, the trash in Denver and Arvada, I've lived here all my life. I've never seen it so bad on the streets and on the roads and everything else, and they ain't doing a darn thing about it.
Oh,
yeah. Now, Joe, appreciate the phone call. This is the idea. This is how we're going to fix those roads. What we're going to do is we put them up in the Goodyear blimp, and all of us get pellet guns, and we try to shoot it down. That's it. It's $5 per shot. We'll fix the roads immediately.
All right. Joe, appreciate the call. If you missed any of the show, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. You've been listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader and Elon Musk's favorite radio station, News Talk 710 KNUS.